Well, good evening to the members of the loyal opposition. And we welcome you to another Marcia Weeks show coming to you live from the beautiful island of Barbados. And we, the loyal opposition, the citizens of Barbados, welcome all of you to this show tonight. Many of you have been on from very early. I tell you, I wish I could dedicate the time to log on as early as you guys do because I've seen some folk on since 3:41 waiting. And I want to say thank you to Remy M 6070 for getting on so early and encouraging you to share. We want to do that, okay? We want to be able to share with our friends and our family. This is an educational 3 hours that we spend together with you. It is an educational and revelationary time, and it is a time of learning the truth and hearing things that maybe you were not aware of, overlooked, or maybe you heard about but didn't realize the depth of the entire matters. So we are happy to have you with us again tonight. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Ferdinand Nichols. It's a pleasure to be your host again tonight. I'm filling in really for Marcia as she's preparing for that big show this upcoming weekend. I think it would begin tomorrow at 6:30 at Combermere School Hall, and you can register online. The admission is free, but you do need to register so that you can get a seat. And I understand that those spaces are going very quickly. So I want to encourage you to get online or call WhatsApp 236-7000. I believe I had the link. I had the link last time we were together. I'll try to get it during the show and put it in so that you can also go to the link and register on the show tonight. So we want to welcome all of you joining us. I'll try to get in some of the names tonight, but like I said last time, sometimes when you don't call the people's names, some people get upset. And don't get upset with me because there's so many of you. Maybe I shouldn't call any names at all, but I just like to do that. And Marcia, I know, likes to do that as well. So we want to welcome those of you that are joining us from different parts of the world and from right here in Barbados. Nigel Carrington, Cecilia Miller, Rose 5111. I'm just looking down the line here. Erwin Nurse, welcome again. Jeremaine 123A, Philip C, Gel Biz, thank you for being here with us again tonight. Nat Grant, Denzel Grisette, Jefferson Sobers, Victorious Queen. Welcome and good evening to you. And Marcy, I think there someone joining us from the UK as well. ADG, good night to you as well. Thank you for your love. We receive it. Good night. James and Hasbra, oh my goodness, Diana Husbands, yes, a blessed night to you as well. St. Ches, great to have you with us again tonight. Tracy Barrow, good evening. Yes, Tracy, I agree. It's a blessing to be alive, and we need to cherish the life we have and remember that God is in control. You are so right, so very right, Tracy, and thank you for that reminder. Janitha Calendar, just in time. Yes, good evening. You're just in time for tonight. Tyrone Nurse, great to see you. Some of you have met in person, and if I haven't, I look forward to meeting you in person when we're doing the marches. Of course, that's if you're in Barbados. Don Reed, Joyanne Faith, welcome. Ivan All, is that All or Ali? All. Callie B, Kevin Howell, good night to you as well. Nat Grant, Fabian Yard, Beverly Prescott, welcome. There we go. The Speak Life. There you have it. That's the. Let me put that one up again there for me, Dave. That link. Let them take a look at that link. That they can go to the link and listen. You've got to go to the link tonight, because these tickets are going like hot potatoes. Okay, you're going to see the show that the National Cultural Foundation deemed and as unpalatable to some people and disqualified them. And so if you want to get there and get in to see it, you're going to need to register at that would be www, I believe, SpeakLife 2024-encore.eventbrite.com. and it's right there on the screen, I believe, for you to see. It's in the chat. You can click on it. You can go there, register. Admission is free. It's just that there is limited space. And, Combermere Hall has a fabulous platform, fabulous area there for drama and so on. And so I think it's a great location, even though I'm a Harrisonian. And as you know, Caswell and Glen are always pulling my leg because I didn't go to Combermere. But, without Harrison College, there would have been no real competition for Combermere. So we thank God for Harrison College and for Lodge. All right. So Henderson, Bancroft, Colin, Clark, welcome each one of you. We are so delighted to have you with us tonight. We're going to have the national anthem in just a few moments, but I always try to hold back a little bit on it to give more people the opportunity to get on board with us before we actually play it. I try to hold it back until we get to maybe about 500 persons. We had about 360 now. It's 5 minutes after 7, and we do want to begin each night. But of course, there are lots of things happening. I'm sure you've seen this headline here. We'll be touching tonight, and then if you go on the inside of yesterday's Nation, you'll realize that our private detective, there's another one right there, our private detective, our Sherlock Holmes, Kemar Stewart, is going to be with us tonight. He's going to be here with us, and we're looking forward to a great evening with him. And of course, with General Caswell Franklin, we're going to be spending a bit more time with him on this show. And so you should, just share with people who are civil servants, persons who are in the government employee, and let them know that Mr. Franklin will be on tonight sharing on a number of those aspects that he started to share on Monday night, again on Wednesday night, and we certainly want to give him a great opportunity tonight to continue. So we want to welcome all of you. Thank you for being with us tonight, Jackie Jordan and Bjorn Clark and Owen Hines, Rochelle Thornhill. I must be, I hope I'm not destroying all of your names. Get him out, 27, Sean Yard, Judith Ann Clark. Great to have you with us again tonight. Henderson Bancroft, thank you so very much. Henderson, blessings to you as well. Great to have you with us this evening. Colin Clark, there you are, sir. Birmingham, United Kingdom. Good night. Oh, well, yes, you're all the way from Birmingham. That's a little over 9 hours flight. And you can get in here in just the bat of an eyelid, huh? Oh, wonderful. I tell you, great to have you. Thelma Yearwood, Michael Harewood, great to have you as well. I know we're going to see a couple of persons back in tonight from the United States, some of our very loyal persons from the U.S. We're going to be looking forward to them joining us tonight as well. Lucinda Aline, thank you so much, all of you, for being here. We're up to 396, and keep sharing, getting persons onto the platform that we can get going in just a couple of minutes. I want to say that one of the pleasures I have on this show is being a part of a grouping of people who have decided to be what we've always heard about. And good night to you too, Wolseley Granham. Good night from Georgia. Wow. You and Tyrone Nurse from Calgary, Alberta. Whoa. That's isn't that on the others? Let me see that's going across Canada. Wow. Tyrone, welcome. Great to have you with us tonight. Wolseley as well from Georgia. Share with the others there in Georgia too, Wolseley, and let them join us here on the show. Maria Watson, Rhode Island. Oh my goodness, I don't get into the U.S. very much and anymore. When I did, I just got into the areas of Florida and North and South Carolina, where a BMW and one of my housing companies, Deltec Homes, that I've been associated with for so many years. But most of the time to Miami, Florida, and on to Grand Cayman for the last 19 years. Margaret Gittings from Hamilton. Wow, great to have you with us again tonight. Yes, I like that one, Janelle, here with Miss Kemar Sherlock Holmes Stewart, you mean. I think, Perry, John Lynn, I think Perry Mason would be casual. That would be casual. Perry Mason, Franklin, and Kemar Sherlock Holmes Stewart. I believe that would be absolutely correct. There you go. There he is. There he is, Mr. Kemar Sherlock Holmes Stewart. He will be with us later later on tonight. I just love the way these people just get these captions. And Errol Calendar, you're watching from Connecticut. We're up to 422. North Carolina, yes, it is a great place. I've been there a few times, and it is a lovely, lovely place. And one of my joys is driving up during the time when the trees are changing color. Gorgeous, absolutely brilliant, beautiful, and splendid. Yes, Selma, I tell you, it's absolutely funny, huh? I tell you, man, my goodness. Uh, yeah. Oh my goodness, it's good to have Easy D back too as well. Yes, Kern Williams, North Carolina, great place. John L. Herwood, yes. Lovely to have all of you with us tonight. I always have a few things to say at the beginning as I await the entrance of my fellow colleagues on the platform. But as I was sharing last week, well, not last week, I was sharing last show, I think that was Wednesday, on the matter of a video I'd seen speaking concerning the secret of success for Singapore, going from a third world country to a first world country. And in that video, the speaker, the person I didn't know really was the person I don't know who the speaker was, but he spoke of the three areas that led Singapore from a third world country to the first world country. One was meritocracy, selecting the best people to run the country. And he said that third world countries were brought down because they did not select the best people. And they would give their jobs to their family, your friends and cousins, nephews, nieces, those you grew up in school with, and not to the best people. The second thing he addressed was a matter of pragmatism, in which he said, he quoted from a Chinese leader, and he said the Chinese leader said that it doesn't matter whether the cat is a black cat or a white cat. It doesn't matter if the cat catches mice. That's a good cat. And so if it works, use it. And to that, he was speaking of not being bound by ideology. And the third one he spoke about, the third aspect, he spoke about the MPH of success. In order for your country to move from a third world to a first world country, the third one was honesty. And he spoke about the fact that this was the hardest to achieve. And many countries are brought down by what is called corruption. And I am not going to sit here and deny. I mean, I would be naive to think that we do not have corruption in this country. I think I would be naive if I said we don't. And I believe that there's a need for exposure. There is a need. And I must tell you, as a Christian minister, I am leading some prayer teams. We do believe in prayer. Prayer is a very powerful weapon. And not everybody shares the same sentiments. Not everybody prays in the same way. But we certainly do pray for exposure. And we're careful in doing that because it could expose yourself as well, because God is no respecter of persons. If you pray for exposure, you better get ready, because everything going to get exposed. Government is going to get exposed. I see Doria Clark saying no audio. So I just want to check and make sure that you're hearing me. I saw a comment there about no audio. Are you getting my audio? I just want to be sure that you're getting my audio. Please, if you could confirm that for me, I'd be happy if you could, that you're hearing me well, because whenever I see a comment that you're not hearing, I get really concerned to make sure we get the best in terms of our program. So are you getting me? Are you hearing okay? Yes, fine. Okay, thanks, Doriel. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Loud and clear. Thank you, Victorious Queen. Okay, great. So these areas, thank you, Marcia. These areas are areas of concern to me, especially the one of honesty. And many people speak about transparency and accountability. But thank you so much, Simone. transparency and accountability. And then when you start to ask questions, they get upset. But we'll be dealing with that in just a few moments in the show. We're up to 714. I see we're up to 509 persons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Dave to bless us with the playing of the national anthem so that we can officially kick this show into gear tonight, Friday, April the 12th. My goodness, we're halfway into April already. So Dave, if you could facilitate us, please, and let's play the national anthem of Barbados in plenty and in time of need when this fair land was young. In plenty and in time of need, when this fair land was young, our brave forefathers saw the sea from which our pride is grown. In pride that makes no wanton boast of what is best soul, that rise among us from coast to coast, the pride of nationhood. With loyal sons and daughters of to hear my name known. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. We write our name on this estate with expectations great. Strict guardians of our heritage, firm cast and our faith. The Lord has been the people's guide for past 300 years. With Him still on the people's side, we have no doubts nor fear. But one and all what we shall know is darkness something free. And greater will our nation grow in strength and unity. With loyal sons and daughters of to hear my name known. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. We write our name on this estate with expectations great. Strict guardians of our heritage, firm grasp and of our faith. Oh wow! I'm getting just blessed every time I hear our national anthem. I've never heard our national anthem so often in all of my life as I've been hearing it here on this show, and I'm so happy tonight. We loyal sons and daughters all do hereby make it known. These fields and hills beyond recall are now our very own. We write our names on history's page with expectations great, firm craftsmen of our strict guardians, of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our faith. Yes, Easy D, I think I did. Sanzu. It doesn't matter if it's a white cat or a black cat, as long as the cat catches mice. You're right. And I'm not sure, Easy D, if it's the Art of War. If that's the same book. I have another quote out of the Art of War about knowing your enemy and knowing yourself. Another tremendous quote. But listen, folk, over the past couple of days, there's been just so much happening in this country. Of course, on Wednesday, Kemar brought the exposure of this SEAWEED conveyor system and the system that was supposed to be dealing with the sawgrass, all the seaweed and so on. He brought it to our attention. He didn't go looking for it, he said, but he came across it, and I'm sure he asked questions. And I saw an effort in the Nation newspaper by the Minister of People Empowerment and the acting Minister of the Blue Economy, Charles Griffith, in attempting to respond to these matters. You know, it's amazing how you hear nothing about these things until we bring them up here on the show, and there has to be a response. And I want to say this, you know, as we came to the end of the show last week, I made the comment, and both Glyne and Caswell queried why I made the comment, and rightfully so. I just felt that before this year is out, or before the tenure of the current government is out, the period of their administration, that they're going to call an early election. You know, and I had a call today from someone I had not heard for ages. I'm not going to call any names because I'm going to protect my sources. I had a call, and the individual reminded me that at the meeting at Wyndham, Sam Lord's Castle, that the members of the Barbados Labour Party were told to get themselves ready and start campaigning. Well, goodness gracious me, that was 2022 when the government won. This is 2024. That's about 2 years into their current tenure, with another approximately 3 years to go, or thereabouts. So if you're going to call an early election, it means you're going to now be running up to 2029 if you win the seat, if you win the government, close to 2030, which I believe is one of the period of times when some of the sustainable goals have to be accomplished and achieved. And so I think I was on point. I don't know why I said that, except that maybe I was led by the Spirit of God to say it. That would be my take on the matter. But I just feel something in the system. And when I look at this kind of a headline, I have no doubt that there is something in the offing. Things are happening. Now, we're going to be touching on this tonight because I have spoken with persons in the know concerning this matter, as it relates to the reason behind this no confidence motion. And I'm not here to be on anybody's side. You know, I'll tell you the truth. I am tired, and I don't know how you are. I am tired of dealing with anything that is not addressing the well-being of Barbados, my grandchildren, my children, and my fellow citizens of this country. I'm not interested in which party gets the accolades. That is an irrelevant matter. I'm interested in the well-being of Barbados. And if in looking after the well-being of Barbados, you benefit as a political entity, then God bless you. But don't try to switch that around and tell me in looking after the interests of the political entity, Barbados benefits. No, my focus, my motivation, my number one criteria is looking out for the interests of Barbados. If the Barbados Labour Party does well, I will commend them when they do well. When they do foolishness, which is seemingly quite a lot that they're doing, I will also take them to task along with all of the other members of this show and this panel. And I'm glad that you Slyn, I hope I have the name right, King, said today we went into a bread store and asked the young lady how she was coping with the raise. She said it was hard. A gentleman who received a pension chimed in. He too said it was, he said as a government pensioner. Well, let me tell you something. Even before I say anything to do with this dilemma and anything to do with the thoughts I had a conversation yesterday with one of the persons who got one of the houses with regards to what we have been discussing. She said that it took 6 months after the house was completed for her to be able to move in. And when she was given the key, and she was presented with a waterworks bill for the 6 months she was not even in the house for 6 months. And when she went to them to query concerning the matter, they told her she had to sort it out with the Barbados Water Authority. All right. I'm telling you what a person living in one of those homes that we have been discussing said to me just yesterday. And I went on another matter with the company. I'm not going to call the name of the company. And then she went on to tell me that, she has to get insurance for the home, and that as she checked with the different insurance companies, her best quote to date has come from one of the insurance companies at around $1,200 and some dollars a year, $200 and something dollars a month. And I looked at the young lady and I said, but the position that you hold is not a senior position, it's a clerical one. How are you managing? She said to me, it's extremely difficult. It's tough. She said, Rev, you don't know how many times I go into the supermarket and I have to walk past some things that are necessities, because I have to choose now between what necessities I need. And I felt so depressed. Not, not because you would think that as a believer I won't feel depressed. I didn't feel depressed for me. I felt depressed for her, where she is now having to choose between necessities. She's not choosing between the necessity and, or should I say, the need and the want. She's now having to choose between the need and the need. And I said to her, I said, honey, you just keep believing. At some point in time, we're going to get this country put right, and we're going to get things corrected. And I'm believing for that to happen. And I said, one of the acronyms, one of the meanings of one of the acronyms that I mentioned earlier was a matter of honesty. And I have mentioned it on the program before, that if you want an honest government, people are going to have to start to be honest. And we're going to have to start facing things honestly. Now, Mr. Stewart Mr. Stewart Kemar brought this matter about the harvesters for the SEAWEED sitting in Quonset Bay. And before you know it, you have members of government all of a sudden turning up in Quonset Bay. I would like to ask the people in Quonset Bay, when did they last see them there with regards to this particular matter? And he did admit that, according to the media, he said that since November, December last year, we were awaiting parts. 4 months. Now, that's what he said. I'd like to ask the people down there how long that machine was out of commission, because the reality is that nobody trusts governments anymore. And it's not just a Barbadian matter. Because of the lies and misinformation and false information we received throughout the pandemic, which we are now finding out to be true and to be lies, sorry. And in spite of the fact that truth is coming forth, people are still sticking to their guns in spite of the fact that we know you are a liar. We know that you have misrepresented matters to do with the pandemic and the treatments. We know you have done that. Some of the best minds, if you follow Dr. John Campbell, and I want to encourage all of you to go on YouTube and follow Dr. Campbell. He is a brilliant individual who began supporting processes, but as he progressed, he was willing and honest enough to have to change gears, because information was forthcoming that showed that the pharmaceutical industry was behind all of the matter. And I know I have to be very careful, because I received a notification that they took down one of my videos from 2022. I had a laugh. I said, you all know, get to that 2022. I had to laugh. Yes, sir. Yes, Cheryl. I mean the plan. I don't know, pandemic. That's what you call it, pandemic. Again, I have to protect Marcia's show, so I'm going to be careful in what I say. And here's the thing. Yes, they should, Anderson. They should turn up at the BLP picnic and wear their shirts. They should protest. And I really want to say, that we simply don't believe you, and you now have to bring evidence. You have to bring evidence. It's going to be required. It's going to be required of you, man. We are not accepting anything you say. But again, it is seemingly impossible for any government minister to have to answer a query without being disingenuous, because here's the headline. I am understanding what the media is saying. DLP fishing in St. John is futile. Sir, this is not about the DLP fishing in St. John. This is about you giving account for an inoperative piece of equipment that was donated to this country with millions of dollars of support equipment, thousands of dollars of parts required. You have to give an account. You're the representative for the area. So don't talk foolishness about the DLP or the BLP or the APP. That mentality of politics you don't seem to understand has drifted away from the new republic in which we find ourselves today. We are not interested in anything to do with the political agenda of any party. We are interested in the government doing its job. And I have said on this platform before, and I will repeat it, you are paid to do a job, and I am not giving you any accolades for doing your job. If you are the representative for the area, do your job. If you are successful at doing it, then that is what you were hired to do. You get no accolades for it, no more than the clerical officer or the cashier at a Massey's supermarket gets accolades for doing her job. You are hired by the people of Barbados, paid from the taxpayers' pockets to do the job. So don't come to me and start to talk to me about anything you have been able to accomplish. I don't want to hear it. That's your job. You should have done it. And if you do it, then we are paying you to do it. And this is the mentality I want to break. You know, somebody spoke to me today and said to me that we are still slaves. And what we're dealing with is master servant. Let me get straight to the matter. What we're dealing with is the master servant in the big house who now master dead and gone along. They in the big house. And so now they want to take over master. I watched Django, you know. I saw the movie. Okay, so, you know, we hear all of this foolishness. I am not interested in any of that. We are no longer slaves. We are no longer under colonial rule, and we are resenting the neo-colonialism that is being imposed upon us by the entities that you see on the screen before you, the UN, the WHO, the WEF, the CDC, the FDA, and not only them, the IMF and the World Bank, trying to impose upon us. And, you know, somebody sent me a video very recently, and I'm going to take the time to quickly look at it. Stay with me because I'm waiting for Caswell to come in. Don't run away and leave me all alone by myself. All right. So whatever you do, stay with me. It was a video by the First Lady of Sierra Leone, and she was saying that we're not given the free will to determine our own processes. There's always some big brother who decides. And when you fight and say no, we are not going to do this or we're not going to do that, they use the system to stop you. And you know, I'm tired. I am tired of government ministers on either side not addressing directly what people's concerns are. I don't want to hear about your constituency meeting. I'm not interested with that. I want to hear you give an account. You promised transparency. So when you come to speak about transparency, don't come with an attitude. Don't come with an attitude. Come and explain to the people in terms that we understand. Don't give me no highfalutin talk. Okay? I ain't heard that word in a long time, Barbara, highfalutin. Don't give me a highfalutin talk. Come and be transparent and understand and appreciate the need of accountability. I once was told that what was it? Accountability without responsibility is responsibility without accountability is what? I can't remember what they told me, but it wasn't very good. All right, so you have to give an account, and don't get an attitude when the people ask you to give an account. You see, y'all are focusing on Ferdy, Kemar, Caswell, Marcia. We are not asking you anything. The people are asking you, and we are expressing it on their behalf. If you follow this show, compare it to any of the events that you all host. any of the town hall meetings you have, no, not town hall meetings, any of the parish conversations that you have, you will see who's watching what. And that ought to tell you that if you had any concern about accountability, you would find yourself on the Marcia Week show, where the majority of people are viewing. We're up to 782, and I am only 34 minutes into the program. And I've been on some of these different constituencies where this body speaks and this place speaks, and hardly see 300 people at the maximum. Here you are at 783. The other night we were up in 1,475 on the live show. So that right now, if you have the intestinal fortitude, and I'm being very polite because this is what the loyal opposition expects of the Reverend. Okay? If you had the intestinal fortitude, you would contact us, 2367000. Marcy is not afraid of any of you. You would contact us and indicate to us, look, I'd like to be on your show. We'd like to answer the questions that the citizens of Barbados have, and we would like to be able to address it. The leader of the opposition came on the show. Senator Trisha Watson came on the show, not as the senator. She came on the show as an intervener with regards to the utilities matter with the light and power. Okay, so you should be able to do that. This is a part of the people you are supposed to govern. It would appear to me, and I'm tired of this, DLP or BLP, it would appear to me that when a party is in power, they seem to think that the only people that they address in the country is their supporters. Let me tell you this now. You are the government of Barbados. You're not the government of the Barbados Labour Party. You may carry Barbados in the name, but you're the government of Barbados. You're accountable to DLP, BLP, APP, CCP, I say CCP because I see them sitting with you, CCP and BLP. I see them sitting with you in meetings, and we know nothing about it. We do not know why high-level officials from the Chinese Communist Party are having discussions with officials from the Barbados Labour Party and not with the government. That has never been explained to the people of Barbados. Let me be clear on that. All right, let's be clear. And you need to come to the people. You are the government of Barbados. You don't govern your supporters. You govern the citizens of this country at their request, at their employ. They pay you to do it. You do not go off jet setting around the world without us knowing you are leaving, without us knowing where you're going, without us knowing who you're meeting, without us knowing when you come back, without us hearing a report of your meeting and hearing what was accomplished and what were the terms and conditions of what you achieved. Next month, the WHO is going to be trying to impose a secret, illegal legislative aspect upon countries in the world so that the next pandemic that we have, they want to take over the sovereignty of our countries. What is Barbados's position on this? Who is speaking in the United Nations and in the World Health Organization regarding our position? Have you asked the people of Barbados, what position do you want the government to have on this matter? Have you told the people of Barbados since last year? The World Health Organization has been deliberating this matter and discussing this matter with countries around the world. And I understand several countries have refused to sign on to it and will have nothing to do with it. And I hear a word from the Barbados government yet. I have not heard a word from the Barbados government. Who is representing us in the World Health Organization? What is the position that you are placing before them on behalf of the people of Barbados? Are you signing on just because you shake hands with the man who is at the World Health Organization and he comes somewhere about down here and from the UN and open up something? And that is foolishness. Even the African countries that we are now wanting to subscribe to and return to are rejecting all of these international agencies and their attempt to enslave us again using these methodologies. What is the Barbados' government position? Have you asked the people, what do you want us to do? You all seem to think that because you were elected into office, you can do whatever you like and the people of Barbados will agree. We don't agree. We don't agree with the cybercrime bill. We don't agree with the, in totality, with the child protection bill. We don't agree that United, what it was again, the IADB could host or could present a questionnaire in our schools to our children, and nobody be punished. We don't agree. You don't just govern your lackeys. You don't just govern the people who only want to rub your back up and down and tell you how nice you're doing, and will have the intestinal fortitude to tell you when you're wrong, sitting in Parliament with you. And I'm disappointed, I must tell you. I'm disappointed at some of them sitting in Parliament who I know personally, who don't have the intestinal fortitude when it's time to say no, when it's time to question matters. You don't hear a thing. I don't know what goes on in Cabinet. I'm not the fly on the wall. I'm not the fly on the wall. But I don't hear anybody standing up in Parliament and speaking out like I heard the leader of the opposition. Trust me, Angel, I'm calm enough. I just passionate. Okay. I'm calm. I'm calm. But I'm just passionate. And I'm passionate for the people of my country. I'm passionate because I understood it is one thing to have children, but it's a different ballgame when you have grandchildren. And I've lived to learn that that is a fact. And so tonight, I am concerned about the country I'm leaving for my grandchildren. I'm concerned about what is being done by the government, that my grandchildren are going to have to clean the mess up. I am concerned. And anybody who has any love for the future of their families and posterity and children ought to be concerned. We ought to be concerned when we hear that we are borrowing money. We're 7 point something billion dollars in debt. Who is going to pay that bill? But we keep borrowing money to pay the debt because we ain't producing nothing in this country to develop income and revenue. All right, we're not developing it. And I remember years ago, Reverend Dr. Holmes Williams said to us in a message, when your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall. And that goes for any area. Want me to repeat that for you? When your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall. So let's get back to the days when we were producing shirts in Barbados, where we were attracting entities into this country. And I know we get it. I hear we're getting pharmaceutical people coming in now. We're getting one or two other manufacturing companies coming in. I hope they can keep it going, and I hope they don't bring in all the nastiness with them. I hope all these loans that we are getting from China ain't coming in with all the nastiness. I hope that when we get the buses, I don't know if the buses are being donated. I don't know what the terms and conditions are for the donation of those electric buses. And just by way of information, I am told that those lithium batteries last about 10 years. And that they do not disintegrate. They become an environmental hazard. I would like to know, with all the environmental talk that we are hearing, electric cars are carrying lithium batteries that are going to expire within 10 years. They're going to cost nearly $15,000 to $20,000 to replace. This is the information I've got from the experts. GM, Ford, all of them got millions of vehicles sitting down in the United States of America rusting because nobody is buying them anymore because of all the challenges that they're having with all electric vehicles. I hear everybody pontificating about it. I am wondering how many people are actually doing the real research to find out the truth about these matters. And can little Barbados sustain that type of an environmental disaster? I leave that with you. I see that my friend, Dr. General Caswell Franklin has entered the backstage, and I am going to bring him in right away because he is a little late in coming in, and I want to make sure that he gets full time, as much time as possible to share here on this show. So good evening, Caswell. Are you hearing me okay?
I was hearing you well when you were being passionate, but now everything has gone down. You
Oh,
might have
well,
to
that's
try.
because is it because my passion declined?
You know, um,
You
let
want
me
you
let
want
me
a minute to try and
let me
get
get
those.
everything back down.
Yeah, I'm hearing an echo.
Let me try again. I can go
I'm
out and come
hearing an
back.
echo actually again. Yeah, that's okay. You can go right out and come right back in. That's fine. All right. So the general is just having a little technological aspect. Yeah, Peter. Let me do this one here. Yeah, Peter. Africa is rising up, and 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 uh, and we want to tie back in with the African countries, but then we don't want to rise up and be like them and follow their lead. Those people are not sitting back anymore. I will tell you that I am convinced that one of the biggest issues Africa has had are their corrupt leaders. Because remember what this gentleman I saw, he made the comment that corruption is what brings a country down. And I know this is a fact. We know it is a fact that a lot of the African leaders kept their people in an imprisoned because in prison environment because they wanted to fatten their own coffers and their own pockets. All right, so I still get a little bit. He's trying, and I'm going to try to bring him in. Right, and we've heard this, and we know these are factual things. This is not conspiracy. This is not conspiracy, but thank God there are some honest African leaders rising up. I can't remember the name of the gentleman who just kicked France out of his country and the name of that country, but I'm sure somebody will tell me here. And I started to watch this video with the First Lady of Sierra Leone speaking truth. I mean, I wish I had the time tonight to play this video. I would love to do that, but I want to give the maximum time to the general. He's a bit late. He may have had some challenges logging in. He seems to still be having some challenges. I am concerned. I am honest with you. I have asked a question with all of this money coming from China, so much money going into the Scotland development area. What are the terms and conditions? The government owes it to the people to tell us. I don't want to hear nothing about the loan. I want to hear the terms and conditions. When I go to get a loan for a car, they tell me the terms and conditions. When I go to get a mortgage, they tell me the terms and conditions. When you get a loan or even a grant, grants don't come just nilly-willy, Grants carry terms and conditions as well. I know because I have tried to get grants for this country. And I know that the grants don't come without terms and conditions. Some of the people that I've tried to get grants for have told me straight, we are not giving a cent to the government. Find non-governmental entities, or if a project is being done, we are going to pay directly to the persons doing the project. We are not paying the money to the government. That is what some of the entrepreneurial, philanthropic persons have told me, and I have the connections to those people, and I've been trying. And some I presented to this government and the former government, and they did not engage them. And there were grants that were being given that would have alleviated Barbados's entire debt, but they didn't want it. They didn't want it. Right. And I'm going to start saying some things because these are facts. Look, many years ago, I remember a gentleman coming into our church. He was from Pennsylvania. And I will tell you his name, Al Hamilton. He owns a third of the state of Pennsylvania. The man was so rich that I'm going to add you, Caswell, as I complete this statement.
Not yet.
Yeah,
I'm
hearing you. I'm hearing you good. I'm hearing you good.
Yeah. All right. Good.
You're hearing me good?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, but
Okay.
just telling me that I'm not my microphone is not connected to something. So
No.
using you
I hearing
from
you.
the iPad.
I hearing you.
I'm using you from the iPad now. Because the microphone giving some trouble. I don't know what's happening.
Well, whatever you do, don't ask me. All right, but let me make this last statement. This gentleman, Mr. Al Hamilton, his accountants used to come into him on a daily basis and tell him, "Sir, you got to get rid of $2 million right now, or the government, and you got to pay the government in taxes." And he would turn to the accountant and tell them, "Try and find a non-governmental or charity or something in the world and send it to them." Right. So there are people out there who want to do these good things. There's still some people out there. All right. So, Mr. Franklin, welcome. I am so happy. I want to make sure that I'm just going to hide this comment so that people get to see you fully.
Oh well.
because we want to welcome you fully to the show tonight. And I know you're on a bit late. I do have a timeline given to me, but I'm going to give you the extension. Is that all right? I hope Marcia permits me to take the liberty to
Mhm.
extend your time because of the challenges you've been having.
Yeah,
But good night, sir. Good night.
good night, and thanks for having this patience with me. I try to get on about 10 times. You know, I just keep in and
Uh-huh.
out, in and out. Then I saw myself on the side, and all kinds of things was happening tonight. I don't know, and I started this thing from 6 o'clock because I wanted to make sure I get in, and it still messed me up. You know, but anyhow, I'm here and I'm thankful, and I want to wish everybody listening in and watching a very good night, and thank you for joining us. And thanks for putting up with me over these few weeks and months. Because and thanks for your support. Only a woman recognized somebody that looked like me from the show, and she saw me and she said, um, "Anybody ever tell you look like Caswell Franklin?" I said, "I hear that a lot." I said, "I hear that a lot." So she said, "We started to be on the very March week show." So at
Yes,
least
yes.
she said, because I was in short pants and stuff, and she probably figured, well, this why I would be wearing short pants. But she said, "Anybody ever tell you look like Caswell Franklin?" I said, "Yes, I hear that a lot." So
Yes. Well, you look like him. You do look like him. I must
yeah,
confess that.
I can tell you, I very much so.
Well, it's good to have you on the show, Caswell. We want to give you some extended time tonight because you're dealing with an area that several persons expressed an interest in hearing a lot more about. As you started out on Monday, you continued on Wednesday, and to do with the with civil servants and employment rights and so forth. So we want to give you the as much time as we are able tonight to pick up because you did say that you were going to continue from
Yeah,
where you left off last time. So, sir,
I,
the floor
I, will,
is yours.
I will do a little, for those who
Review.
weren't here, and for those
Yeah.
I can do a fast thing for for the people who hearing me for the first time on this area, right? Um, Ever so often, public officers come to my office complaining that the monies are being taken out and people are calling it overdrawn salaries. I tell them there could be there's such a thing, but it would be very rare. But especially places like the prison, almost every prison officer got overdrawn salaries. And I don't think the people up there who are in charge understand what overdrawn salaries are. Right? If you go over your 21 days sick leave, you're entitled to 21 days sick leave according to the general orders. If you go over that, you can get an extension of sick leave. But that extension of sick leave initially for 6 months, extension of sick leave on full pay. There is no such thing in the laws of Barbados anywhere where anybody can give you extension of sick leave on half pay or no pay. But we've seen it over the years, and I'm saying it, and people are accepting it because they think it is the norm. Whenever that happens to you, ask them to say to you, which regulation, which general order you quoting from, because I don't understand this. But people take it for granted, and then what happens? People then have to pay back. Well, let me go back to how this thing with the sick leave, how come national insurance for people in the private sector and some people in public service, and then others don't pay national insurance, the national insurance contribution for you to get sick leave. Prior to the coming into being of the National Insurance and Social Security Scheme, public officers were already entitled to an extension of sick leave for up to a year. Then, when the National Insurance Scheme started, you have a condition of service already that says you're entitled to a year sick leave. The government would have been foolhardy to then include you in the National Insurance Scheme to give you an additional year's leave pay from National Insurance. Mind you, it will be at 66 to 2/3% rather than at the 100% you get as a civil servant. Civil service conditions were better. the national insurance contribution as a result. People in the private sector pay more national insurance contributions than the people appointed in the public service. The reason for that is you do not pay contributions toward sickness benefits because you get your sickness benefits from the public service already, or you don't pay against severance. Well, you don't. Nobody pays severance. All employers do pay toward your severance. Employees do not pay toward the severance. However, government does not pay towards a severance fund either for public officers because it is not anticipated that they will be made redundant or anything like that. However, there's a provision in the Pensions Act that says that if you your post is abolished, and they call it abolished in the public service as opposed to redundant in the private sector, you're entitled to your pension. A misinterpretation from the Caribbean Court of Justice, and they refuse to acknowledge that they misinterpreted the law, and they put a lot of public workers at risk and serious harm because you don't get anything now if they make you redundant. The government acknowledges it. They know it is wrong. And I'm not talking about only the Barbados Labour Party. I talk about the last administration. They recognized it was wrong, but it would mean that they were going to go and pay people money. So rather than do the right thing, they refused. Both parties. I ain't gotten the brief for none of them. Both parties cheated public officers over the years when they send them home early and then they want to pay them the severance, the pensions, because if you have 10 years or more and they send you home, you are entitled to your pension until such time as government finds another job for you. Now, if the government finds a similar job and you don't take it, your pension stops. Now, however, they don't find anything for you. They just send you home and bring on a consultant. But that's another thing. So you can get your salary by your sickness benefits payments from your workplace. Up to 21 days, the head of department can grant sick leave. After that, he has no such authority. However, the chief personnel officer some years ago decided that she's going to delegate that function to certain heads of department, where they can extend people's leave beyond the 3 weeks, the 21 days. She had no such authority. That was an authority that belonged to the Governor General, and the Governor General delegated that to her. Did not give her the power to further subdelegate it. So, I like the Latin, even though I don't like to quote it, but there's a Latin maxim that says, delegatus non potest delegare, means a delegate can't subdelegate. So if somebody delegates you something, you got to do it. So she has done that. So now heads of departments do their own thing. And they give people extension of sick leave. Sometimes people get vexed and don't like you and don't give you an extension. No, it is supposed to be done from one central place, and you get it. Now, if they do not give you the extension of sick leave with pay, you go home without anything. Mind you, people in the private sector will get national insurance, but you don't get national insurance. So you will go home as a pauper. I don't think anybody, any sane government, but this is what I'm saying, any sane government would put people out of bread just like that because they're spiteful. But this wasn't done by the government. This was done by a public officer who chose to misinterpret the law, and now when they found out that the misinterpretation was in effect, both administrations, B and D, refused to undo the damage because right now it will cost you too much money to pay back all those people that the people robbed. But what they have also done is to take money from civil servants and say, well, you got overdrawn salaries, and now you're retiring, so we're going to take out your gratuity. So when you expect to get your gratuity and fix the roof, and so that because you're going to get a lot of money after that, so you fix the roof to make sure the roof fixed, and if you get a nice second-hand car that would last you till the doctor stopped you from driving, so be it. But no, the government is seizing that from public officers and putting them in poverty and despair right from the get-go. Right? Now, people might say that Caswell mad because it happened all along. So let me tell you where to find these regulations. General Order 5.16.1 says that the head of the department can grant you sick leave up to the schedule, the first schedule of the section dealing with sick leave, and it says sick leave 21 days. So the head of the department can give you 21 days up to that. Thereafter, he has no authority to meddle with your sick leave, but they have been doing it. And worse yet, they have been going into people's money and saying, well, look, we taking out this money because we don't want you to owe us too much money. And they actually go into your money and take it out without your consent, but without even notice, because people will then see on their pay slips that there was overdrawn salary that was taken out. I know a guy from the prison, he ended up, I know up to this day, more than a year has passed, and nobody has been able to tell him how much he owed and how much and why they're taking it out. They didn't tell him, just up their hand and put in my money and go on about business. That is contrary to our law. You have, let's put it this way. You and I have a dispute. You are saying that I owe you money, and I'm saying I owe you nothing. The government is in that position with employees. They have a dispute. You don't settle the dispute yourself, because that will lead to fellas going and picking up Collins and chopping you up. Government is behaving like that. You go to court. If I'm saying I don't owe you and you say, oh, I'll put you in court, then let a judge or a magistrate decide. No, they're going to put their hand in their money without lawful authority to do so. Government signed on the 8th of May 1967, I think it's the 8th of May 1967, a convention, the Protection of Wages Convention, that binds everybody in the country. Mind you, Grantley Adams had put in place a Protection of Wages Act, which mirrored the convention prior to Barbados becoming independent, because prior to becoming independent, you couldn't sign treaties. So what Grantley Adams did, he put most of the provisions of the Protection of Wages Convention into a Protection of Wages Act. We had an argument in the House of Assembly when Barbados amended it to make it even better, because the ILO had said to Barbados, no, know that you are signing on to this convention, you have to put the whole set of legislation into law, not just the piece that you had. So Barbados went around to fix that in 1975. And the opposition argued against Barbados fixing it, saying that the act don't bind the crown, and Barbados said it binds the crown. I said so. And then you want to put me in court. Let me go to court and argue about it. But the Barbados Labour Party back in 1975 was arguing against the workers. We should have seen something coming there, because right now they reached that point. Anyhow, then also General Order 518. Somebody asked about temporary officers, so I'm going to answer his question. Just out the line there. Has the department should grant the temporary officers 518. It's a 518. I can't find it though. Here we go. It says, heads of the department may grant to officers holding temporary appointments in their department sick leave on full pay for a period not exceeding 14 days in any year, provided that during a period of sick leave with pay, the salary of an officer holding a temporary appointment shall be reduced by the full amount of the sickness benefit payable under the National Insurance Scheme, or such proportion thereof as to ensure that no time should the two payments exceed the normal salary payable to such an officer when at work. So the general order is saying to you, if you're a temporary officer, you will still get full pay, but then you're going to pay back the money for national insurance, because we don't want you to get both, because temporary officers pay the proportion for national insurance. However, they stop paying you. The general order said they got to give you an extension of sick leave on full on pay, and then we will take out the money that national insurance give you. They have stopped. So as a result, now public officers, temporary officers are being cheated by the government. And both administrations know, but nobody will fix it because it will mean taking out more money from the treasury that they don't want to pay out. Not that it's not entitled to be paid out, but they want to suffer and keep civil servants poor, penniless, and begging at their mercy, so they can give them a little hand out there. But no, you're supposed to give them their full salary. If you're, it does not apply to casual employees, but it applies to temporary and permanent employees. However, the section now that deals with extension of sick leave, it says extension. Let me read it from the book because people might think I'm making sport. All right. Absence on account of illness in excess of the period stated in the first schedule, that is 21 days, shall be deducted from the vacation leave of an officer. But in the case of serious illness of an officer, if the duration of such illness exceeds the period stated in the said schedule, the chief personnel officer may, in accordance with General Order 524.1 to 524.3, grant extension of the period of sick leave. Essentially to 524.1 and 524 down to 524.3. That's 524.1, 2, and 3. This is how sick leave is to be handled. 524.1. 524.1 says extension of sick leave with full pay may be granted on the ground of ill health to any officer other than the casual employee for a period not exceeding 6 calendar months, and when there is reason to believe that the officer will ultimately be fit for further service for a further period not exceeding 6 calendar months. However, if you go past that year, but let's say you're a young man, and the doctors will still be able to certify that, look, with a bit more time, he might come out to work. Because if you make this fella medically unfit, you're going to pay him his pension. So why pay a fella pension for life when he might be able to come back on in another 6 months or 8 months or whatever the case may be? And it says extension of leave may also be granted on the ground of public policy unless otherwise directed. Such extension shall be granted with full pay. The only body who could give that direction is the president or the governor general back in those days. It says on full pay. So even if they go over the year, it must be on full pay. There is nothing in the law that allows anybody at the personal administration or what they call it these days to give you extension of sick leave on half pay or no pay. And if they have done that to you, they have stolen your money.
I saw a comment a little earlier, Castle. I'm going to try to bring it up. But they were talking about something to do with as much as 900 days. I'm going to try to locate it and bring it up so that you can take a look at it maybe and address that aspect.
Right. Now, however, though, let's go on to the further down. If you are sick and you go over your time, you can then go to national insurance and claim invalidity benefits. But the invalidity benefit does not prevent you, because if you become declared medically unfit for work in the public service, you will get your pension. If you have 10 years or more, you will get your pension at that point. But you're also entitled to invalidity benefits from the national insurance. Now, what these people have done is to equate the invalidity benefits and call it a pension, and then say that if you're reduced, your pension is supposed to be reduced by the amount you get for your pension for national insurance. That is not correct. I can tell you why. Now you pay an insurance. National insurance is insurance, so that if you can't work, you would have somebody pay your mortgage, pay for the car, pay to send the children to school. Now, if they take that away from you, or take away that amount from you, and you're not working, what are you going to do? It was never intended for that. What the general order says is that it says the pension which is paid to any former officer or employee in respect of public service, which first commenced after the 1st of September 1975, shall be abated by the amount of any old age contributory pension which becomes payable to that officer or employee by virtue of the provisions of the National Insurance and Social Security Act. It says old age contributory pension. The invalidity benefits is not old age contributory pension. Now, however, let me tell you where the general orders have force. So even if it was not observed in the past, the Public Service Act, I want public officers to be writing and following me, It's at section 33 says, the minister may make orders to give effect to any provision of the codes or any other provision of this act. That's subsection 1. Subsection 2 says, subject to subsection 3, the general orders are from the 31st of December 2007 deemed to have been made under subsection 1 and shall remain in force until revoked by instrument in writing by the minister. So the general orders are saying to you that you got to give the people the pension basically, because it says only when you reach retirement age to get an old age contributory pension according to the general orders, which now has the force of law. I bet there was doubt before. There's no doubt now because they have been incorporated into the Public Service Act as an order given under the Act. And the Act says that you can only take it when you reach 67 or 68 or whatever the case may be. But we have 45-year-old people.
Mm-hmm.
And when I pointed that out to the Prime Minister, she gave back some people. She picked out some people and gave back. Reason being that there were so many people that they did it to, so the Prime Minister picked out a handful and said, well, she can do it for these others and nothing. That is the problem. Because the same thing happened with the Transport Board people. Transport Board drivers were always entitled to a pension. Their union at the time, not understanding the regulations, went in there and negotiated their pension away. Mind you, the union cannot negotiate your pension because the Transport Board Act provided for that pension. So that was not subject to any negotiation.
Right, right.
So then the older drivers used to get pension. No fellas that retire later than that, after Trotman and his people went and messed up things that they shouldn't touch, they stopped getting pensions. Well, over the years, everybody been saying, we want me to go 30, we want me to go 30, we want me to go 30 and stuff. And the Prime Minister came along and then started to give it back to some people. But the whole set of people who didn't get it because of the misinterpretation of the law at that point. And none of them have gotten their pension and gratuities. As a matter of fact, a lot of them have died and have not seen. So they are the only public employees that didn't get a gratuity and a pension. All that is the only Transport people. Mind you, while they were taking it away from the drivers, the office staff still got theirs. And the drivers are the most important people there because they drive the buses. The other people are ancillary to the service, because if you don't drive the bus, you don't need the clerk, you don't need the clerks in your office, you don't need the personnel people. But they got their pension. And it unfair the people at Transport Board for years. And now they start giving back people their pensions. But now that they're retired, and the Prime Minister has given it back to some people, they're giving it back on paper only. Because a lot of people ain't getting it. If they are entitled, but they're not paying it. And that is unfortunate because these people now got a position where, okay, the Prime Minister now has acknowledged that these people owe us our money, we're going to pay it, but then there's a lot of them ain't getting it. And you're going to tell me, that Transport was making the money and stuff. That's not the problem. The Transport Board was never designed to make money. The Transport Board was designed to provide a service. Don't let the IMF come here and tell you you got to carry up the fares and all kind of stuff. That was never what the Transport Board was for. The Transport Board was supposed to get people from St. Lucie to Bridgetown and from Bridgetown to Christchurch and Bayfield and stuff because those people had problems getting to work. and to pay economical fare, because you pay the same fare from if you get a bus and drive from one bus stop to the next, or you drive the longest route in Barbados. So you know that can't work out. But so the transport board is not designed to make money. It was designed to provide a service. But all of a sudden now we have some people who sit down with IMF, don't understand what they're doing, and take instructions from people, carry up the bus fare, do all kind of stuff. And we got people going bus stop in the morning and we wait and beg somebody for bus fare to get work, you know. I had a guy who came to me one day and he had these reports from his supervisor complaining about his not getting to work early. So I said, but I know your supervisor is a decent man, we don't want to talk with him. And even I talk with supervisor, he takes supervisor man out. But I get paid, when I pay up my bills and stuff, they will weekly paid. He said, by Monday morning I broke. I just got to go to the bus stop and beg somebody for bus fare to get to work. So some days if I don't got that money, I can't get on time. I ain't got a bus fare. The supervisor felt so bad having harassed him for coming to work late. He gave him some money to pay his bus fare. I will tell you, it reached that bad. People in Barbados are suffering, and people are thinking that we are going on. I sent Dave a photo to show you some people and somebody and talk about that later. All right. So
the couple of questions coming at you there, Caswell, and I just want to confirm with the loyal opposition that you all are hearing Caswell okay, because he's on a different mic. So just to confirm, you're hearing him all right. Okay, so if you could give us a thumbs up or a confirmation you're hearing, because we don't want to miss anything that he's saying tonight. Caswell, there are a couple of questions coming in. This one here on the screen you can see: can public servants sue for return of all unlawful deductions plus interest?
yes. The problem is which public officer will do it, because most of them are afraid of their shadow. From permanent secretary down to maid, all of them are afraid to stand up to this government now, especially. And if you sue, you're going to run up against a system where the people in the courts hold back. You don't get a case come before the court. You don't get. I was involved with a case that we won, and then the assessed damages. It took them over 10 years to get that case before the court. Just to assess damages, we won the case. But every time it got adjourned, then the Solicitor General people didn't come to work, or they were sick, and conveniently, every time this particular officer, this case come out, this officer was sick. Every time. This case made her sick. And I'm talking about 10, 12 times, you know. It just turned out that she was sick. And then the judges taking that. I don't know why the judges are so cooperative with government and allow government to get away with this kind of behavior, because they are supposed to be impartial judges. But I don't know what is happening in the courts. I don't want to go myself, but if I have to, I will. But yeah, you can sue, because I want to argue. I want money public service to come and argue those people who got appointed after the 1st of September 1975 to argue that amendment to the rules was unconstitutional, because the Constitution said that Section 104, I think it is, that only the Governor General can reduce your pension. But Parliament went and reduced your pension to 75. Parliament is not the Governor General. And so if you wanted to make that a general application, you would have to amend the Constitution. And they never did in 1975. So I'm arguing that those people who had their pensions reduced, but it was done so illegally. But I can't find a fellow who willing to come forward. But everybody fighting. And all you got to lose is what? But what you got to gain? You got to gain all that pension you lost. And mind you, government can fight it vigorously, because since 1975, they owe people money.
Wow.
Since people were born in 1975. So that means from 75 to 85 onward. from 1985 or so, everybody who retired from public service lost money. Mind you, they have also done it to the defense force, but there is no regulation anywhere. People just hear, oh, you get a pension reduced when you reach 65. Look in the defense pension regulations. There's no provision in there to reduce anybody's pension by the money given national insurance. But I know they're doing it. So my soldiers, when they receive their pension, when they reach 65 or 67, I guess maybe, the people cut back the pension without any lawful authority to do so. So government is just finding the way to rip off people. None whatsoever.
You have another question there. I'm 52, working 32 years. Can I stop work and get my money?
You're gonna get sick. That's the only way you can get your money before you reach retirement age. You can start working and you will get your money when you reach retirement age. It will be stored for you. Because you can store your pension, you can store your service until you reach retirement age. If you're not at retirement age and you leave your job, you better got a job outside somewhere else to go to. Or this money will be there for you when you reach, in case yours might be 55, depending on when you're appointed, 60, 65, or because the pension age over public service, you must remember back in 1969, retirement age was 55. You could have retired at 55. That is why the MP's pension went to 55. When they introduced MP's pension in 69, it was 55. Over the years, the MPs took the public service ones from 55 to 60 to 65 to 67 and now 68. But they managed to bring theirs down to 50. But I can't avoid, and this is not BLP neither, this is both of them making sure they feather their nest. And they don't want a better feathers than anybody else's nest but theirs. It is wrong, it's ridiculous. And somebody has to stand up to them. Unfortunately, the unions have been neutered, except for two. Barbados Union of Teachers and the Unity Workers Union. I'm familiar with that one. And I'm familiar too with goings on in the Barbados Union of Teachers, but they're the only two unions that stand up. All the rest have become a branch of the Barbados Labour Party. And they make sure. I want to talk now about these consultants. I sent Dave a picture of, I don't know if he can put it up, if he's able to get it. So chat with him for me, Dave, and see if Dave can get a picture for that. Because I want to talk about how this government is abusing the money. This
is that the picture you're talking about there? Okay.
Yeah, the picture.
You want to enlarge it a little bit for us? Thank you.
Yes, that's the picture. Yeah, you can stop there. This is a delegation that went the Prime Minister to the Netherlands, dealing with water, right?
You mean the delegation from Barbados? This is it?
Yeah, Barbados has a delegation there at this meeting, and they're dealing with they did some presentations at the time. The Prime Minister is very proud of it, and she put it up on her one of her pages or whatever. I don't know exactly which one it was, but if you look at the gentleman at the end of the table, anybody recognize him? He is one of these high-paid consultants in the Barbados that the Barbados government is employing. He's employed by the Water Authority as a consultant. Prior to becoming a consultant, he used to drive a truck at the Water Authority. He was a truck driver, right? So he would carry, he would carry around the plumbers to fix the pipes when the pipes burst and that kind of thing. And now here he is, a high-paid consultant, traveling to the Netherlands, getting paid. But I can tell you, he and I served on the National Council of the Barbados Labour Party together. So I know him. And I don't know if he can consult about anything. But here he is, and looking on camp as ever, representing Barbados at a delegation, and don't tell me that he can bring value to any delegation leaving Barbados to deal with water. All he knows is how to get the plumbers to the particular site.
Caswell, are you suggesting? No, I mean, is a serious. You have to pardon me. Is a serious statement you're making. Are you telling me, in all seriousness, that this gentleman that is sitting at the end of the table, prior to acquiring the position of consultant, was driving a water works truck at the Water Authority?
Yes. Now he's a high-paid consultant.
But this is one of the reasons that in that video, the man says countries fall because they don't put the best people to function in the areas, and they're always giving their jobs to their lackeys, their family, their friends, their school colleagues, etc. I mean, I'm looking at the image, and even the body language suggests to me he doesn't even know what's going on at the table.
He is, I remember some years ago, I was in a meeting, and I got up on a point of vice chairman. We have lost the quorum. And he said, "Maybe you got enough people here." I said, "No, he's asleep. He ain't present." That's what he looked like, though. He look asleep. He ain't there. He only there in body. Doesn't have. He can't represent Barbados anywhere. He cannot represent Barbados that picks up. I don't know if you want people know what picks up is now, because I know one of his about picks up. He can represent me at picks up, but he is at a delegation in the Netherlands representing Barbados. He like he's sleeping. It looks so. It looks like he need pajamas too, but that's another thing. Now, what has happened in Barbados? The Prime Minister has been putting people all over the place, and ministries where I call them consultants.
Yeah, but remember, Caswell, the leader of government business, I think, in the Senate, said that these consultants, it's not costing the country anything. It's the people who donate the funding for these consultants. So the government isn't paying.
Ask her if her husband got a contract from the government, if it cost the government anything. I don't know. Just ask her for me if her husband got a contract when she was Minister of Tourism from the government. Because it might not cost, if that contract cost the government anything. Just ask her for me. I don't know. I'm just asking some questions now. So I don't listen to her because she's talking foolishness. Because the money goes into the estimates for services. They hide it in services. See, I'm familiar with how the estimates process work. I've been around the public service since the 2nd of January 1980. And I been transferred, I can't remember how many times now, but each place that transferred me, I thought they were victimizing me over the years. But even though it ended up being victimization, my grandmother used to tell me, you might notice it better than me. She says, all things come together for good for those that love God, and something I can't remember about. She used to
called according to his purpose.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But she used to tell me this all the time and tell me that God got a plan for you, and I used to be vexed when she told me this thing, because I saying, look, she's not been messing at me. She told me one, that God got this, his plan for me. It turned out that she was right, because every one of those places that I went, I learned something. I know all of those places that come together, and I am able to represent people based on the experience that I have working in these various departments. So unfortunately, my grandmother died in 1995 at age 95, and I was not able to tell her that she was right, but she was. So I'm very sorry that I never got the chance to say that to her. But She's always telling me all things come together, but you know
But,
the thing.
but
I can't remember right now, but
But she was correct, Caswell, because there's a little verse I think it's the 139th Psalm that tells us that there's a book written about each one of us in heaven already. From you tell you in your mother's womb and you find bones getting put together. There's a plan, there's a purpose for you. So God purpose for you, and you're fulfilling that purpose.
but she was telling me so, you know. But at that time, I was getting victimized, you know, and I didn't please. But you know,
Yeah.
she was my sounding board. I used to go every week. I would go and sit down with her and we would talk. You know, people don't know why you go and sit or people like them. But I used to go and I used to love to go and sit with my grandma. And she tell me all
An
kind of things,
education,
you know.
my friend.
And you know, I you know the thing about her is that I used to confide in her. So things that I've never told anybody else in my life, I told her. And you know what I mean? I've never heard them repeated by anybody anywhere else. So she kept them to the grave. You know, so but we had a very good relationship. And I had
Thank
had
God.
that
Thank
when my
God.
mother got older, then I had that same type of relationship with my mother. But you know, they would tell me, and my mother used to even call me and tell me when they do things that she don't like. I was 60 years old plus, and the old lady would call me and tell me I don't like that.
Boy, listen, and at 60 years old, she would still pick up a strap and come for you here. Let me tell you, boy.
You know, so I was lucky,
Uh,
you know.
yes,
But
yes. Thank God for her.
so,
Thank God for
so
her.
as a result of all of these things that I know, I can quote for you. I can quote now the section 3 of the Public Service Act. It says this act applies to the following persons in the public service, whether appointed before or after the 31st of December 2007. A, public officers. B, temporary employees. So those temporary employees that you see, that you recognize to be barbers, Labour Party, people that they call them yard folks, they were supposed to go through the system. No, you find that they just find jobs and get them in permanent secretary or wherever the ministry they're in. No, they are supposed to be recruited in accordance with the provisions of this act. This is an act that was passed by the Barbados Labour Party in its dying days in 2007. As a matter of fact, the act came into force on the 31st of December 2007. This act was one of the last pieces of legislation before David Thompson became Prime Minister. Because immediately after this act was passed, Parliament was dissolved, and so this is the same party that passed this act that ignoring it. We now have the Prime Minister. Yes, the Prime Minister can create temporary jobs in the public service in accordance with, I think it's Section 14 of the same act. But she don't fill them. You can create as many posts as you like because that's the power that she has. But you can't fill them. But you're finding that these posts are being filled.
So who's filling these consultancy posts? Who's responsible for filling all these consultancy posts that we're seeing?
Certainly not the Ministry of Public Service. Because if the Ministry of Public Service was filling these posts and only managed to get BLP yard folks, I would seriously recommend that the person be charged. They're not. These are people. I remember, for instance, when they created the alternate GIS, calling it Department of Public Affairs, when they mirrored the GIS and had Paris as the head. Now, Paris was a senator and a public officer at the same time. Not allowed to happen, but it happened. They do what they like. Then we see, as my friend Lovell, he was there as one of the senior people as well. Beautiful platform speaker. When you want a good meeting man, Lovell be there rousing and he lambasting them good and stuff there. He was there. They didn't go through the Ministry of Public Service for a job. They just decide that they're going to pick these things and they're picking their friends. But while they're picking their friends and giving these fantastic jobs, because the Prime Minister got a hairdresser now, calling her something dealing with protocol. We already got a protocol officer in foreign affairs. You don't need to. But I'll find somebody to call her. And they are wasting public funds.
This is ridiculous, really. I mean, I don't want to call any names, but some of these people are family to me. I know them. Some of them are cousins and so on. And I must tell you the truth. What troubles me, Caswell, is why aren't there persons in the civil service who fulfill these responsibilities or can be called upon to fulfill these responsibilities? Why are we expensing the people of Barbados more for what we are calling consultants? We are calling them consultants.
I can tell you why. We have some people who refuse to go and develop themselves, who refuse to progress and do any set of studying or anything else because they have certain aspirations. They want to reach a particular height, but their educational attainment do not get them there. So they find themselves in political parties. Some of them get elected, but a lot of them got elected this last time around. And these people who cannot go out there and run a snow cone cart, but they become consultants and they get fat salaries and they don't do anything for it, just collect a paycheck. This is what this is all about. When the government changes now, those consultants are going to go home, and if they got time on their contracts, people are going to say, well, they're going to send them home, and then they're going to get a bigger paycheck now too because they terminate their contracts midstream or whatever else, as the case may be, and it goes on and on and on and on and on for the next set of fellas to bring in their consultants too. Unfortunately, this government has had more consultants than all the other administrations put together from 1966. Barra had a few. Like you would have personal assistant. No, the Prime Minister has a chief of staff and all kind of, not that she's Trump or somebody like that. Because we have the function of this person should be with the cabinet secretary. Right? So we are suffering for money, but they are spending it lavishly on their friends, carrying them overseas, giving them all types of air trips and stuff.
Well, I thought I was a friend. I thought I was a friend to nobody and giving me anything.
No, but your mouth ain't got this cover. You talk too much and you criticize them. You gotta be able to hush and take what they get. Where you think they offer me so many jobs since this government gave me the thing because they want to shut this up, But only the Almighty will shut this up.
Yeah, as well, listen, we could go on all night on this, but I see Rose in the back there, and I want to give her a chance to come in because I think she's going to be dealing with the aspect of the George River, of the Windus to the Sea George River. I don't know how we can get through all this stuff tonight. That's the truth, but if we can take a little bit, and I know you probably will have some contribution to make there as well, but listen, Caswell, can we pick up on this maybe on Sunday as well, because there just seems to be so much that even if we gave you a show for 3 hours, I doubt you could get through everything, because there's some details that are important, and you know what they say, the devil is in the details. That's what they say.
Something. One of the reasons why I continue this, because I get all kind of queries from people. Like the last show, I can get away soon so that Rose can get in. But I talk about departmental posts, and you might have public officers that don't know what you're talking about. They never heard the term.
But I don't want you to get away. We don't want you to get away, right, folk? We want to keep the general in. But listen, Caswell, let's pick this up. Let's pick this up on Sunday, because I think I will still be hosting on Sunday night, because Dave, if you could bring up that flyer for me, because I know Marcia wanted to be on tonight, but she can't make it on tonight. I guess it's because she's in such hectic rehearsals for tomorrow night. And I just want to remind you all, with regards to the SpeakLife show tomorrow, 6:30. You'll see it on the screen. Speak Life tomorrow, Saturday, April the 13th, and Sunday, April the 14th, 6:30 at the Combermere School Hall. And that's why you haven't been seeing Marcia on the show for the last several shows, because she's hectically involved in the rehearsals to do with this show. This is a extract of which was refused by the National Cultural Foundation, and she's inviting all of you all to come and see it, to see what they refused to engage on their behalf. All right, so we want to make sure the information is there. Dave, if you could just run that link again for me too, please, that people can see the link, because we've had a lot of people come on since you showed the link. We have 1146 I'm seeing showing here. If you could just run that link for me again, I would really appreciate it. And just as Rose comes in, I'm going to bring her in, and Rose, I hope you're ready, but I'm going to bring you in because we had. You all have seen this here. You all have seen this.
Mm.
You all have seen this. I spoke with someone very close in the mix, and I am made to understand. And just by way of information, Rose, if you give me about 2 minutes before you deal with this matter on Jones River, I've been made to understand from a person well placed. I can't call names, and I will not call names, but well placed with an authoritative position, who would know this information, that an invitation letter was sent, a cover letter was sent to the General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party, and an accompanying letter inviting the leader of the opposition to speak in their anniversary event in St. Lucia. And during several meetings, no reference was made to the correspondence, which should have been done, from what I have been made to understand. Now, I'm not in there. I'm going by someone who was in there. And what happened was that the secretary of the leader of the opposition in St. Lucia, who knows Mr. Thorne very well, contacted Mr. Thorne to find out, what level of disrespect are you engaging by not responding to the leader of the opposition's invitation. Mr. Thorne knew nothing about it and asked for copies of the correspondence to be sent to him. But he was the person invited. He was invited to speak. I can't treat to the president's invitation. I would have no doubt that probably he, from what I understand, he was invited as well. But the reality is that Mr. Thorne was not informed by the general executive and the general secretary that he was invited to speak in St. Lucia. And he discovered when the secretary called and asked about his response. And that is where the whole matter began to be exposed, so to speak. Now, I'm not going to treat to it because it is an ongoing situation. I am not taking sides with anyone, but what I will say is that it would appear to me to be somewhat suspect that if correspondence is sent to the party with a cover letter and an accompanying letter to be given to the leader of the opposition, Mr. Thorne, whether people like it or not, is the political leader of the Democratic Labour Party. And as such, he was invited, and I am going to leave it at that. I am sure that we're going to see a lot of things coming out. I'm sure in the appropriate time, Mr. Thorne will speak. But let me say this. I listened to a political scientist make a statement today that had me a bit annoyed. And she referenced in a very disingenuous manner the service that was held at Restoration Ministries for the commencing of healing, in terms of of Mr. Thorne crossing the floor, becoming the leader of the opposition, political leader with the president. I was present at that service. The president was present. Verla de Pisa was present. Mr. Boyce was present. Mr. Yerwood was present. Mr. Ryan, the Senator Ryan was present, and it was a tremendous service that we had. We prayed over the individuals, but that was just the start. And I want to suggest to that political scientist, if you don't know anything about religious exercises, it is best you don't comment on them. All right, that is how things begin. You will recall, Caswell, that there were some miracles the good Lord performed that people had to go and wash and come back. And then the fellow was saying that he was seeing people like trees and he had to go and wash his eyes again and come back before he could see. So there's a process that often is required to take place, and that is the process that's being worked out now. I have nothing else to say on the matter at this time because we want to talk about Joe's River and some of the things that I saw in terms of information coming back to us. Uh, um, Coming back to us in terms of this. So, Rose, I want to welcome you. I agree, Calvin. Until I have the facts, I'm not going to try and say anything about the DLP. But what I will say is that I have the interests of Barbados at heart. So anybody who will play the fool can find me the barking up the wrong tree with me and can find me on the opposite side. All right. Rose, it's nice to have you with us tonight, my dear. I have the honor of hosting the show with you on it. And of course, being the two men and you being the lady, Kazul and I are honored. I can speak on his
My
behalf, I
pleasure.
would think. We are honored to have you grace to be gracing in your presence, not having you grace us. Welcome to the show, Rose. Marcia tells me that you will be addressing the matter of windows to the sea and this matter at Joe's River. It's such a pleasure to have you. Let me unmute you because you're still muted. So let me try to unmute you.
I'm on mute here.
There you go. We got you
Thank
loud and
you.
clear. Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Welcome,
you. And
welcome,
I
welcome.
said, I'm honored to be with you two gentlemen, and I feel safe with you. I feel
Thank
safe
God.
with
Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
always a pleasure. And this evening, I know I usually speak on education, but I think this too is a form of education to inform us of and look at linkages historically, that things that have happened in the past that seem to be recurring, and what action was taken back then and what action we can take now. And therefore, I am going to go way back, and I captioned it Windows to the Sea. That is the heading, but there are other subheadings. So bear with me. I want to say good evening to the audience, and thank you for allowing me to come into your homes and to engage with you like this. Historically, there have been forbidden places in Barbados. Just as Joe's River, if there is no action, if there is no pushback, if there is no response to what is happening, if we're not being taken assertive, it can become a forbidden place. But this is not new to us here in Barbados. So I've spent some research, you know how I always like to contextualize, go back, bring forward. And Reverend Ferdy, may I ask you, you've got such a good speaking voice. May I ask you to read that slide for me,
Well,
please?
absolutely. My pleasure. Forbidden places in Barbados, Belleville. Wow. Back in 1880s, Belleville was developed as an exclusive residential area in Barbados. One of Barbados's own entrepreneurs by the name of Sam Manning, founder of Manning and Company, later known as DeCosta Manning, and his business partner George Whitfield acquired 60 acres of land, which they divided into 11 parallel avenues between the two parallel streets of Pine Road and George Street. Some regarded Belleville back then as the first viable display of good town planning in Barbados.
And that's Belleville. When I was preparing this, I said to myself, um, how far do we go? And if what is happening now is new or just a repeat in a new way of what has happened before. We will know then that Sam Manning was obviously wealthy and white. Not that I'm anywhere racist, not that I'm anywhere against the rich and the famous, but contextualizing here, he was white and wealthy and most likely coming out of the plantocracy. Bear that in mind. Second slide, please.
So by 1910, the 8th through 11th Avenues were available for public access, while up until about 1935, the 1st through 7th Avenues catered to private residents only.
That's clear. That so the public would have access along Pine Road into those three top 11, 10, 9th Avenue, the very ones at the top, which connects near Government House, and all the other avenues were catered to private residents only. Who were the private residents? White, rich, and mainly probably coming from the mercantile and plantocracy. Next slide, please.
Strathclyde developed around the same time as Belleville circa the late 80s.
Right. So around the same time that Belleville was developed, we had over the other side of St. Michael, Strathclyde. Now, Strathclyde too had its avenues, its cul-de-sacs. And if you look at old pictures, you would see that the buildings were very much colonial plantation type buildings. Next slide, please. Oh, you go on. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so the streets were patrolled by black watchmen who dished out vicious lashes on the trespasser with a bull pistol. And I would take it the trespassers must have been fellow black people.
Yes, that's why I put trespassers in
inverted commas.
And remember, notice what I'm saying now: forbidden public access, enter at your own peril.
Yes.
And
isn't that a similar sign that they found?
George River.
Yeah, that's a similar thing at George River, isn't it? Enter
that
at your
is
own
where
peril.
I'm asking the audience, like you are with us, you and Caswell, to draw the parallels. Is there anything new? And therefore, just this afternoon, I was talking to a friend of mine, and his father was he's since passed, a policeman, and he would have joined the force probably in the 60s. And my friend too was a former policeman. And he said that his father reminded him that even back then, if they wanted to patrol Strathclyde, they would have had to get permission from the Commissioner of Police to patrol Strathclyde, even though they were law enforcement officers. Next slide, please. And this is a bull pistol. A bull pistol, and pardon me, a little bit awkward talking about this, but apparently it's a leather that is made from the skin of the penis of bulls, and it is stretched and woven to form that. It is cured and stretched, so it's similar to a dog hunter. And this is what they put into the hands of the black watchman to beat any trespasser. who did not own, say, back in the 1800s, who did not own when these two places were developed, who did not own a coach and a buggy and a horse, who did not have a carriage, who did not look white, speak white, act white, smell white. Any other person on foot or walking through those two areas did so at their own peril. See the parallel again. The boat pistol is another kind of boat pistol that we are experiencing here. The fences, the barricades, and the signs that say, traverse here at your own peril.
I'm almost tempted to say, without disrespect to the Barbados Police Service, that based on what I heard, it would appear that they were a bit of a bull pistol on Sunday as well.
Yes, and not only that, that permission had to be sought even from the police officers, from those at the head, to even patrol those areas. Draw the parallels, please.
Yes, yes.
May I look at the next slide with your assistant? And here I'm saying, and I'm throwing it out for ourselves, similarities with Joe's River. Next slide. Now, we sing that song with, abandoned freedom. I don't even think many of us know the historical context to that popular calypsonian by the Honorable Mighty Gabby. Jack don't want me to bathe on that beach. And in preparing for this, I came across a very good article, research paper by Christine Toppin Alahar, which says the beach belonged to the socio-economic disparity and islanders' rights of access to the coast in a tourist paradise. It speaks for itself. And that was a comparative study of various Caribbean islands that depend on tourism and that have changed their landscape to accommodate so-called investments in tourism. And let's see what is said about Barbados. Next one.
You know, they played that song the other day in St. Lucia because
Yes.
of a similar situation that happened in St. Lucia with some folk. And I mean, we are not color prejudiced people, but we know how things are. And they played that song down there, and from what I understand, chasing people back to the United States.
And we do it here. We sing and we chip to it. But do we understand what prompted the Mighty Gabby to pen that song and to win the Calypso crown that year? The late Sir Jack Deere, chaired the Barbados Tourism Board in the 1980s. And Caswell, he's better at explaining things like this. In 1982, with the legislation of the National Conservation Commission Act, which Jack indicated from that act that let's make the beaches in Barbados private. And it began when he spoke to restraining local entrepreneurs from selling goods and services on the beach, right, Caswell?
Yeah.
It was his attempt. No, it started with catering to the tourists and restraining. If, with your permission, may I quickly read this here, what it says here.
While you're gathering that information, Rose, let me welcome Kemar Stewart to the show tonight. Kemar, want to bring you in, my friend. I hope I didn't catch you off guard, but wanted to bring you in because I mean, you guys have been. I missed the motorcade. because I had other duties to perform. I am not going to expand on those duties. They are not for the general public. But I missed it, and I know that all three of you were there. So, Kimar, welcome to the show tonight. A real pleasure to have you on. Why don't you just greet the folk before we go back to Rose?
Hi, good night. Good night to you, Pastor Ferdinand. Good night to Caswell. Good night
Good
to
night. Good
Rose.
night.
Good night to all of the members of the loyal opposition.
Good night, Sherlock.
Good night, Kimar. Good night, Kimar, Sherlock Holmes Short. Good night, Kimar, Sherlock Holmes Short.
Good night to you.
I love it, the creativity of my people. Huh? Love it, love it.
Yeah, I saw the flyer come out today. I was like, woo.
I don't know. I mean, I think the flyer was on the invitation to the show on YouTube tonight. But Dave, I don't know if you have the other one that showed the full picture. If you got that one, you could put it up sometime. But welcome, Kimar. So good to have you tonight.
Yes, thanks for the welcome. Thanks for the welcome. I appreciate it.
Yes, Rose. You guys were the ones who dealt with that. You guys were the ones that can deal with Joseph. I wasn't there, so let me just step back and let you guys go. Go ahead, Rose. Go ahead. Yes.
So that particular act, that legislation, sought to restrict the itinerant vendors. That's how those guys and ladies who sell on the beach. But you realize that persons just who owned property along the beachfront stretched it, started blocking the average Barbadian who was not involved in selling goods and services on the beach, restricting our movement in those areas. Hence, that now probably the second anthem of Barbados, that beach is mine. May look at the next slide, please.
Well, that one you want me to read. I know that for sure. So
that one could bring that up to last.
You're gonna want me. Oh, yeah, you're gonna want me to read this one. So let me go. Windows to the Sea, the late Canon Andrew Hatch, Father Hatch. He was a Barbadian innovator long before the word became fashionable, building and installing what has been described as Barbados's first solar water heater, the forerunner to an industry that is now synonymous with Bajan manufacturing, and which put Barbados at the top of the renewable energy map decades ahead of much better resourced countries. And even in the midst of all of this, he still dedicated so much of his time to what often appeared to be a one-man Windows to the Sea campaign of the 1980s and 90s to ensure that along the West Coast, unchecked tourism development did not lock Barbadians out of access to the beaches. For years, he was the voice that countered, provoked, stimulated, and even upset Barbadians of every character on each topic imaginable. Much of the credit for the popularity of these shows today must go to him. I will say, Rose, that I drove down the West Coast on Monday.
Yes,
it was an emotional drive for me because I traveled that road from a child coming from Boscobel to Bridgetown to go to school. And I was stunned that I could not find more than maybe one or two windows to the sea. It was heartrending. But I will let you go ahead.
Yes, please. And in thinking about Joe's River, I could not help think about the imposition that was made by Sir Jack Deere and the work of the late Canon Andrew Hatch. So in doing my research, I looked at the tributes paid to him. And this is a wonderful tribute, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Guess who made that tribute? Can you guess?
No, not me.
You know that we got the body who can give us the narrative. She prefaced this tribute by acknowledging he christened her as a baby at the St. James Parish Church. And then went on, and you notice that I put in bold the second paragraph. And I smiled when she talked about unchecked tourism, that he sought to ensure that along the West Coast, unchecked tourism development did not lock Barbadians out of access to the sea. Make your own conclusions concerning Joe's River. You are clever people, you're intelligent people. I don't have to pull the strings or connect the dots for you.
I don't even see why we need to go to legislation. It should just be simple moral decisions.
But this is what was said. Are we not having unchecked tourism development despite the legislation that is in place?
Locking Bajans out, yes, we do.
It's happening. Isn't it happening down at Joe's River? It is, I think. We can see. And the last one made me smile. We do know that Father Hatch was one of the first moderators on getting down to brass tacks.
Yeah, brass tacks.
And this is what the same Prime Minister said in the tribute, that he was a voice that countered, provoked, stimulate, and even upset Barbadians of every character on every topic imaginable. Why does it rile her when we seek to do the same on the Marcia Week show or in any other forum that provokes, that counters, that stimulates, and that even upset her government and others who are not doing what is right by and for the Barbadian public? I leave that there. Now, Father Andrew Hatch, and I'm going to wrap up here. Father Andrew Hatch was very concerned about the windows to the sea, just like you, traveling along the West Coast. That was his most traversed route. And he was very concerned about it. And therefore, he approached a community-based organization, a regional one called CADEC. I don't know if Caswell and you, Reverend Ferdy, remember.
I think I remember
CADEC?
hearing about it. Yes, Caswell.
Action for Development in the Caribbean through the Caribbean Council of Churches. And he got funding. He got funding to commission a systematic study of the southern and western coastlines of Barbados in 1980 in order to identify the surviving windows to the sea and to make recommendations with respect to the areas which should be reserved and developed for public purposes. And this is an extract from that report, and it sounds very much like now. This consideration is important psychologically do not tell us that we do not have to make that emotive and emotional response to Jones River or any other obstruction to what is our heritage and those areas to which we should have unlimited access. He said, this consideration, the report says, is important psychologically. It is vital for the success of tourism development that members of the Barbadian public should not feel that they're being prevented from enjoying the beauty of their coastline with its fine beaches and excellent sea bathing by the construction of rows of high-rise hotels and apartment blocks dominating considerable stretches of the coast with limited and not easy to find access points to the beaches. If deprived of access to the beaches by the absence of easily located, clearly marked entry points with adequate parking areas and basic amenities, feelings of resentment and frustration will develop and constitute a serious threat to the tourist industry. This is 1980.
Well,
This is
1980,
almost 44 years later.
1980 whole roads, it's being fulfilled. All of that is done. If you drive down the West Coast now, I think the only two outlets I saw was Mullins Beach and one a little further back up. I can't remember the area. I don't know what
Village.
it's somewhere back up that side.
Yes.
Fitz Village and a little further, maybe three. But I'm talking about 3 half-dead entry points. I'm not talking about 3, wonderful sites. And then when I passed through Speightstown and past Port Ferdinand, I could not believe my eyes.
There you go. And
I could not believe my eyes.
This report was written in 1980. I will continue quickly. When he talked about feelings of resentment and frustration, the fact that there has been a massing of tourist hotels and apartment blocks along a number of stretches of the South and West Coast, and that this is likely to be intensified in the future, makes it vital that ample provision be made for Barbadians to enjoy areas of fine beaches and safe sea bathing without feeling that this is a result only of reluctant and grudging concessions on the part of the government. Lip service paid by the government to the principle of access by people to all beaches is not enough. We're not only talking about beaches here, we're talking about historic sites, sites like the St. George River that we are only getting lip service to. My concern, and I leave it for another time, but my concern is about that corridor of development that is proposed beginning from the Worthing, is it the old Worthing police station through to the BDF, all the way down into the geriatric hospital is where the government headquarters used to be, all the way around that area and the proposed Hyatt, and all down to the Pierhead, but they're redeveloping that section by the Pierhead. Yes,
but also all the way down. What you call the first part of the port, Caswell, when you come through there by the further back up, where the old
Greenwich?
BS&T used to have an administrative building on the left there, all the way down there, all the way down Trevor's Way, all the way to the Bridgetown Port Roads, all the way down.
I am asking ourselves and our people who are listening, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Are we going to let areas in Barbados be a recolonization like that in the 1800s with the development of Strathclyde and Belleville? It's a different kind of bull pistol that is coming down on us, where we will be seen as trespassers in our own country.
Wow.
I
Wow.
am challenging you that this
Yes.
is neo-colonization, and
Yes.
it is recolonization for what we are being told, investment and a boost to our economy. And I listened, Kimar, to you last night. Excellent session.
Yes,
Excellent.
excellent.
And what are they putting us up for? What are they stringing us out for? George River, they've come for George River. Don't tell me that George River is behind God's back. There's no place in Barbados that's behind God's back. And there's no place in this world that's behind God's back. He said, go ye into all the world.
Yes.
And therefore, if we don't sound our voices and depend on only Gabby to write, Jack don't want me to bathe on my beach. They don't want us to go to George River. Soon they wouldn't want us to traverse along the coast where they're proposing that development. They're selling everything out for $1 that is not reaching the vulnerable, the poor, the hardworking, the struggling. I ended here. That was 1980 when that study was commissioned by Cadet to look at the few windows to the sea. They have become fewer and they get more and more from us without any explanation, or I don't even need an explanation for the destruction of things that are historical and the things that make Barbados unique.
What it is, yes.
Thank you for this opportunity.
And thank you, and thank you for the historical tour. But I want Kazal, I heard you wanted to say something just now. But I want to grab Kimari that he's now come on, because Kimar, I know you were on this motorcade as well, but I know you were also at Concept Bay investigating some things, and I saw an article carried in the Nation, which I'm sure you saw. I don't know if you saw the caption. I don't know if you saw that caption there. So, my friend,
well, I didn't see. I didn't see it. Honestly, I didn't read it.
Well, welcome. I mean, you've heard quite a bit of what Rose shared, and I know you have quite a bit to share tonight with regards to that, and maybe Joe's River as well. So let me just give way. Kazu will hold a couple of comments still a little later. Let me give way to Kimar. God bless you. Go right ahead, my brother.
Yeah. Well, good night again to everyone. As Pastor Ferdinand said, I was down Concept Bay for the last 2 days. I was there scoping out, and I posted this on my social media. Right, I posted this on my social media. I also posted a video of myself out on the jetty, enjoying the view and admiring the fishermen on the boat. And like I said, I went to get some fish. So I bought some dolphin, and it was just there. But I saw this thing, and in the back of my mind, I was saying, where is the seaweed Where is the SEAWEED machine? You know, this is months. This is years. I was saying to myself, how come you
But
can't find this SEAWEED machine? I thought he come and had a SEAWEED program, and then lo and behold, look what he could bump into the SEAWEED machine. Now, we received a response or press conference this year, which was held at Concept Bay.
yes, yes.
So, two ministers turned up. Kurt Humphrey turned up as the former Minister for Blue Economy, who was a substantive minister who bought a $300,000 SEAWEED harvester, right? Then you had Charles Griffith, and he was there as the acting Minister of Environment and National Beautification, along with Blue and Green Economy, right? That is what the role he was playing there. Although he's the MP for St. John, he had to take on a false role to come to the press conference because the same Ministerial Environment, the very next day, had a seminar at a hotel in Barbados. And he didn't even address it. You know what they did?
Seriously?
They had a TV put up and Medic was giving the message from on TV. So the next very day, Charles Griffith, who was the acting Minister of Environment in his own constituency, came all up to his constituency. And that's probably the first time the people down there saw him in so many years. So I give myself a pat on the back for bringing him to his own constituency to recognize what was happening. But the next very day, there was a conference with the same ministry that he was the acting minister just the day before. And he wasn't invited. He didn't even address it. He didn't even speak to the crowd. They got Medic to give a press conference from wherever he was in the world, and it was played on TV. So you see this skullduggery and the games these people continue to play. And he is the representative for that constituency, and he allowed these people to make him a fool and come into his own constituency. Right? But very well soon he will no longer be the representative for the constituency.
Well, he say that you're fishing. He say you're there fishing for votes, but he said fishing is futile.
Well, at this rate, he's the one that out to sea. So he got to fight his way back.
Fishing and Concept Bay would be futile if you can't get a boat in the water.
A lot of puns on this one, boy, I tell you.
Right. So here we have on the screen the ministers standing next to the same. This is only part of it. And they stood next to this part because they know you can't see no restaurant here. But what they didn't do is to show you the one with the tarpaulin. Right? They didn't show you the big tarpaulin. That is the one that's rushing out. Because this is just only one component. Right? This is one component of it. Now, the Minister of Environment, who now has the responsibility. Look at this right there. The next very day, they were up in St. John. Right?
You can see the rest.
Look at it. This one right here. Look.
Yeah, you can see the rest.
But they stood up. I took a picture next to
rest as clear as
the
day,
part of
right?
it. Tell people that the trickery in these people. Like, all on this thing catching cold web. They're going past cold web now because looking matty. Right? And the last time this went out to sea was so many months ago when the soldiers went out and the waves and the sea took them and twist them and turned them and almost killed the fellas. So the soldiers at last took it out, brought it back and parked it right here and left it. Never even looked back. Now, if this was under repairs, as the minister said, why didn't you have it in a safe location? Why isn't it stored at the BDF base? But you have it outside in the rain, rushing away. Right? And then
I don't want to interrupt you too much, but you said the Defense Force was dealing with this machine.
Yes.
So, but the defense, the soldiers are supposed to defend us from foreign enemies. So this SEAWEED was the enemy. I'm just thinking out loud. You know, that's not for them to do either.
I couldn't understand that either. I was a puzzle, Kimar, as to why would Barbados Defense Force soldiers be the people operating this piece of equipment? Why would that be?
Because they're the enemy. The SEAWEED is the enemy. We got to get rid of the enemy.
Well, I want to show a video of the response from the minister. I just want to hear it. Want you guys to hear it.
The SEAWEED, it then propels it along this conveyor belt and onto the jetty where it would have been cleared. To be able to do that, and that was the intention of the harvester and the conveyor belt. If you look at the conveyor belt, or if you look at the harvester, the rust that they're talking about is really a superficial rust that would occur once the harvester is beside the seaside. The other point that is very important to make is to note that right now the battery and other parts have been taken out. It's not that it's not working. They've been taken out to be repaired and to be fixed. Because this is not SEAWEED season, when you're out of season, you do the repairs so that you can sow after you've done the reaping. And this was one of the initiatives that we put in place when we came into office. I should also tell you that when we came in, there was really no blueprint left in terms of handling SEAWEED. There was really no plan. So one of the things we did was that we brought on, I think, about 60 different people. I don't know how many people are on the SEAWEED program now. And they were manually clearing the SEAWEED. We also used some vehicles, some trucks and tractors and so on. But you would appreciate that on the ocean side, on the beach side, that is not necessarily the best thing. You don't want to have too much machinery on the beach. So we use manual labor. And then this was also a component so that as the ocean is calm enough and the SEAWEED is heavy enough to be worth it, then this is part of the facility. This still works. This still works. And as I said, it's just basic repair being done to the machine at present. Again, I think it's an unfortunate thing that people would represent otherwise for political purposes. Over here, where you're looking at where the fishermen's quarters are, those quarters have been like that forever. And in the new estimates, there's a facility there to repair entirely the fishermen's quarters. So they're going to have brand new state-of-the-art quarters. There's facilities to fix the market and to complete. All this is in the estimates to complete the boatyard. So the point is that I do not understand what the purpose of the video was really. And if you look at the work that we would have done across Barbados, our history, our record is clear. You go to any Oysins Jetty, Spikestown Jetty, all the jetties in Bridgetown, Tent Bay Market, Oysins Market, Bridgetown Market, Pile Bay, Western. I mean, the record of this government and the treatment of the fishing industry is stellar. And to try to involve the government in this kind of thing for political purposes, as I said before, is the most remarkable underachievement. And I do hope that the public appreciates what is being done here and that they would make their own determination when the time comes.
You're talking about treatment, Stella. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the fish market and I had to give a woman some bags to go to Oysins to get ice because the market down cheap Bridgetown didn't have ice for fish. People are going to source their ice. I actually had some bags in the back of my car, and she was looking for bags. So I said, "Well, I got some," and I gave her to go. So they can't tell me you're treating them, Stella. You come out there and make these kind of big things, but things like ice, you can't keep fish without ice.
I thought to myself today, wouldn't it have been better to hear from the people in Concept Bay? I don't want to hear from the minister because you can't trust the government. I don't want to hear from any of them.
He was not the minister. He is not.
Yeah, I see he's the minister of people empowerment.
Good. And the man who came there as a minister of environment, the man who came there as a minister, stood up. He's the representative for the constituency too, you know, and he's the minister of environment, and he stood up there with his mouth shut, hardly having anything to say, and the minister of people empowerment is who doing the talking.
But Kadir, Kimar, you must understand They ain't got much ministerial material. Kurt is ministerial material. So you gotta use them about the players because they ain't got very many who are articulate. That's the problem, you know. You got so many of them, and if they're not saying how great Mottley is, they're not saying anything else. If nothing else, you have to give Kurt credit for being able to stand up and defend an issue. How many more of them could have done that? So that's why you're going to get Kurt. That is it as simple as it, you know. It is that because
You know, and what I find amusing, I mean, to talk about political purposes, I'm not aware that Kemar is canvassing in St. John for the seat. I'm not aware of it. I mean, Kemar, you ought to tell us if you canvassing in St. John for the seat in St. John. But you know, why must we always, when we are addressing a concern, bring a political perspective to it? The thing is up there sitting down, non-operative, rusting. Address it. It's not nothing to do with politics. It's to do with something that has been exposed. Address it. And I observed the comment he said, and I'm quoting from The Nation. Since November, December last year, we were awaiting parts. November, December, January, February, March, April. That's half a year. You mean to tell me that half a year has transpired and nobody has got behind anybody who has to order the parts or the supplier to get them parts in here after
slow
6 months?
slow boat from China, just like the houses.
Huh?
Just
I
like the
mean,
steel houses.
when
They
I
came
was
from
working for BMW Caswell, at a time when BMW was now introduced to Barbados, we didn't have a major parts department or anything. We used to fly in parts from the United States and the United Kingdom in under 2 or 3 days to treat to an urgent matter with a vehicle. If and to talk about about it not being seaweed, and then the camera is going to come around and show you the sea washing in a whole set of seaweed on the beach.
No, but you must
That's
remember.
embarrassing.
You must remember that a lot of these things come from China. And you ever heard about the slow boat from China? The same slow boat that these steel houses come on, you know. It is
The
par for
steel
the
is
course.
inferior quality, and I
We
can
know
tell
that.
you, the steel is inferior quality. Kimar, when you look at rust, you're talking about that's superficial rust. I was see what's going on underneath the mechanisms that have to operate.
No,
And
them
when
on the
things begin to rust, my friend, from seawater, that's the end of it.
It
but
rusting
at least you got a battery.
It rusting because it just there is not using. The soldiers are
Yes.
not operating it. Nobody don't want to work it, right?
And
But
and when I listened to your presentation, you spoke about the fact that in the estimates, you did not see any reference, and correct me, you did not see any reference to this operation. Am I correct?
correct.
And then he's going to come back and talk about how Humphrey said through 4.3 million was allocated in the estimates to upgrade the St. John Market and a community center, but we were not talking about that. You were talking about the Sargasso seaweed machine. And he goes on to say they refuse to familiarize themselves with the estimates process. And I refuse to see someone who wants to be in government would continuously make these basic mistakes for somebody who intends to lead. But the reality is
He
you could
wasn't
find
speaking to
no
me. He wasn't
information.
speaking to me on that point.
No, that was a recycled speech. He said the same thing in the house when Ralph was speaking. So, you know, it sounded good then. So you come back and use it again. You gotta give a break. You know, you can't kill. But that's recycled.
But
Go ahead, Kimar.
Pastor Ferdinand, but think about it, right? How long could this thing really be done for parts, right? And what's interesting about this CV program is that they hired workers. So workers were being paid and employed under the CV program. So how is it that salaries were being paid for a program that's not featured anywhere in the estimates? Right? It was even more telling about what he said, is that they rebuilt markets around Barbados and repair jetties. They said they repair the Stone jetty. They said they repair the Bridgetown jetty. Uh, They say they repaired the Bridgetown market, the Painesville market. They repaired all of these markets. So why they never repair Concept Bay in the first place? Right? Why they didn't repair Concept Bay while they were repairing all the other jetties and markets? Right? Because they know what they intend to do with Concept Bay, you know. So Concept is most likely another Joes River issue. Right? So the people in who frequent Concept and who use Concept, Concept is one of the few fishing villages that we have left, you know, organic fishing villages. And people who have money can see the value in Concept Bay. So the same way the government could spend money to rebuild all of those jetties and facilities and things through the years, but magically no, they could come with a plan, and they had a big paper in the air showing blueprints for Concept Bay. Why did they make that a public document? And why wasn't every person in the media given a copy of the sketches to develop Concept Bay so the public can see exactly what? So they came up with the theatrics, hold up a plan, and taking pictures for the media pointing at it, but there was no proper presentation that the people of Barbados could see what was exactly on that paper, so that we could have seen the plans to develop Concept Bay, right? So anybody what he was saying, they know exactly why they did not develop Concept along the way, because they probably have it parceled off to be sold.
Kimar,
Right?
you have your estimates anywhere near you? Because
Yeah,
I'm looking at mine now, and I'm finding it difficult to find the references that he was making, but except head 751.
And is in the strategic goal, and it's only mentioned twice. The word SAGA series is only mentioned twice.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about provide for the finalization of the Concept Bay development.
Community center.
West Jetty repairs in Bridgetown, but they don't tell you what. It says haul facility at Bridgetown and Concept Bay. That's what they're talking about, you know. It says provides for the finalization of the Concept Bay development, whatever that is. And then it says here they can use a Stephen haul facility at Bridgetown Fisheries Complex and Concept Bay Boatyard and Community Center. So what were the grand plans in the estimates that they're talking about? Because I'm not seeing them other than that.
You see, the other thing that I keep saying,
estimates that he's talking about.
Look, the people of Barbados are tired of hearing what the Barbados Labour Party did not do and the Democratic Labour Party did not do. This is 2024. I'm not interested in what the DLP didn't do. This is 2024. You were employed by the people of Barbados to do a job. Do it. Don't give me the reference of what didn't happen in the past. We're not interested. I have already told people in several different areas I don't want to hear. The only thing I want to look at history is to make sure I don't repeat the same mistakes. But I don't want to hear nothing about what was not done, because if it wasn't done, that's his story. I want to know what you're doing now and what you're going to be doing in the future. That's all I want to hear, because when I dead and gone, my children and grandchildren are going to have to live in this country. So I'm not interested in hearing what the DLP didn't do or what the BLP did 20 and 30 years ago anymore. Then, okay, fine. That's the history. We know about it. Forget it. That's the end of that. Move on. That's where we are at now. I'm tired of this foolishness. Every time you are asked a question concerning your current performance, you go reference back to a former government. We're not interested. I am certainly not interested. From a political standpoint, I'm not interested. From a citizen standpoint, I'm not interested. I don't know how many people would agree with me, but that's up to the individual's perspectives. But as far as I'm concerned, we hired you, we paid you to do a job, get about it and get it done.
Well, this is the thing, no. We bank on transparency and accountability. So we want some transparency on the SEAWEED program. how much money was spent in total dealing with this SEAWEED thing. And we also want to know really how much salaries were paid. How much SEAWEED did you sell according to what the government was saying? How much for, because they said they were going to export the SEAWEED. So did we ever get to exporting SEAWEED? How much money did we make from exporting the SEAWEED? There's a lot of questions on the table for the Ministry of Environment.
Just answer them.
Adrian Manafort. And since he's older, the earlier he comes back, we ought to have a press conference hearing from the Minister of Environment as to the issues that are on the table. Right? And we also want to hear about the contract for that jetty. Right? We want to hear about the contract for the jetty. Because we are hearing that the I would say the most fortunate entrepreneur in Barbados has the contract to develop the jetty. Right? Who has the contract to rebuild the market? So these are things we want to know about. So if I didn't go out there to get fish, and if we didn't go up there at that time, we would have ever heard anything about this? Would we have known that
No,
you intend to spend all this money developing concept?
no.
No, but he might have got to understand, though, or got to realize that you're a powerful man in this place, because you came out and made a statement, and 2 government ministers the same day rushed to St. John to come to you. How often do they respond to anybody? Boy, I think they got some fear dwelling in them for you, yeah. Because look at this way. People talking about my head over better boy coming hold a press conference and say as well say that. But you came out a couple hours later and you can find 2 ministers out of their busy schedule. Right? I suspect that ministers are busy. I suspect. Not necessarily
Not just 2 ministers, 2 ministers and the chief fisheries officer.
Right? So I'm saying what you were able to bring out these people in hours.
I tell you, boy.
Sometimes for months we are trying to get these people to explain something. So you give yourself a pat on the back, Kimar, because trust me, if they were not fearful of Kimar's short, or fearful of your skills as a private eye, they would not have been up there. I think that's a boy talking for this on my heat, but you were not talking for, so you hit a nerve. You hit a nerve. You hit that nerve hard. So they got to counter and try to downplay what you are saying. But the people of Barbados ain't buying into that nonsense, you know. When was this press conference scheduled? Normally you would hear the minister will have a press conference at the end of the week. Let's give it notice, get advance notice. This was an emergency situation. How can you discovering some equipment under the tarpaulin, an emergency situation in Barbados? You're getting under the skin, boy. Keep it up.
Well, there's the thing, you know. Basic common sense. Like, you know you're using the machine ain't working, carry and put it in the warehouse. Oh God. Another thing, they spoke about a pull-up machine or so from the slip away, right? The government has a pull-up machine on the other side of the road just rotting. Right? It's just there rotting, you know. And they are saying to the people that they're gonna pull up machines so they can't get a boat pull up. And they are telling the fishermen that they have to go all the way back down to Bridgetown to get the boats hauled up. What the government got pull up machine up there, you know? But they're saying that, oh, it want parts. It want parts.
Again.
So then you don't, so you don't have a pull-up machine then, because if you got a machine that ain't working, you don't have one.
But they're doing it on purpose because they're making sure that the Korean man gets some money. Right?
That's why I
Because
said I want to hear what the people at Concept Bay have to say. I don't want to hear what the minister has to say or any minister has to say. I want to hear what the people up there going to say.
well, first, the people will tell you, one, they don't see a representative, and two, everything that is being said about this thing is factual. Right? They completely ignore the area concept seriously. Like they ignore. I told you about some things that are happening in that parish. The road at Pot House. They half do the road, right? Half do the road, but still the minister was in pictures saying that he did the road at Pot House. But if you go to the road at Pot House, you will see how deplorable it is. So they took pictures standing up with the top part that they did, giving the whole of Barbados and the world the impression that they did Pot House Road. And the road is in a deplorable state. Right?
Okay, but a person
But
just made a comment there that the minister said he was in Parliament and somebody sent him this video, and two ministers break out of Parliament to rush up there. But it's even more. This is even more serious than we thought.
Yeah, that struck me, Caswell, because if I'm in Parliament and I get a video like this and I know the person talking foolishness about, you think I can waste my time to go up St. John? But they knew what was being said was true, so they had to try and go up there in order to try and justify or to defend or to try to punch holes in the truth of the matter. That's the problem they have with this program, with this show. The problem they have with this show is that we speak truth, and then you have a real difficulty defending truth with a lie. A great difficulty. And so you're going out there, and you're going to be presenting stuff. You're going to leave Parliament. If Keemar Stewart, if what Keemar Stewart is saying is foolishness, why going to waste my time to respond to the foolish boy for? Because that's exactly how they're going to. That's exactly how they're going to refer to it. You see, that's why I have become disgusted with the disingenuous manner that the ministers of government are referring to people, the same way they refer to us as terrorists and other things. Just because we're asking questions, we are Barbadian citizens. We have a right to ask questions. Don't come to me with foolish talk. Go ahead, Keemar, my friend.
well, some landed eagle is saying somebody get cursed for not hurting that machine better. And I agree. I agree. I firmly agree.
Oh, dear me.
I firmly agree.
Yeah, and I mean, the machine got up there somehow, Keemar. They could have moved it from up there and carried it in a warehouse and covered it down. Because if you leave something by the sea, man, look, I live in St. George, and I got a container up here that rusting, not because I getting wet, but because in St. George we pick up salt water too. That's why we try to keep our vehicles indoors and build garages, because the salt water sweep across this country like nobody's business. So you could imagine keeping that piece of metal, steel equipment next to the sea for 6 months. When you go back to reactivate that machine, what other parts are you now going to have to order? Because the parts you're waiting for now, which was waiting for 6 months, you ain't going to know what's going to happen. Come on, folk. We're not stupid. You're not going to know what's going to happen when you get them parts now and install them, and you turn the key. What else is now going to not work? So you now got to wait again to order parts. You want to be a rocket scientist to know this? And tarpolium don't stop salt water? I not that I'm aware of. So,
Right.
Go along, Keemar.
Right. I just want to put in a plug and say that I hope the mill and pave come, or the road on the way to Consett was rocky. We hit some craters on the way up. So I best trying to put in a little plug. Don't forget the Forgotten Parish.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, the gentleman says that
Wait.
Let me see what he said here.
We have Joe Drop Waldron saying that the road conditions at Cheshire St. John are deplorable, and this government must do something about the road conditions there. These people there are taxpayers too.
The gentleman says there are no vacant seats in the constituency of St. John. They're more interested in maintaining a seat than they are fixing the issues and the problems. If you fix the issues and the problems, you don't have to worry about your seat.
Well, with the amount of issues happening in St. John, well, I ensure that we should be looking at
So
making a
you
seat.
see that funny comment? You see that funny comment, Kaz, when somebody asked me which beach are you talking about in St. George? No, we don't have a beach in St. George, but I can tell you we get salt spray all the way throughout the country. The country is flat. Well, I can't say it's flat as a pancake. I go a few high rise areas, but we have a trade wind sweeping across this country that carries salt spray, guys. What you're telling me at all? It's for years that that this may have. My father taught me that, showed me that, would come out and show me on the car windscreen some mornings and run his finger and show me the salt here. You know how to be down, maybe in St. Joseph. Go on,
Pastor
keep on.
Ferdinand, I see in this comment here. Now somebody speaking with Japanese. You know the Japanese are experts in fisheries,
Yeah.
right? And to develop an area, like there are a lot of the whole concept is structured. There are some areas in China like that, right?
Mhm.
Natural way. And these type of facilities, that concept which could be developed into massive facilities. I am sure there are some entrepreneurs out there who may be eyeing to develop Concept B, and the entire Scotland district, as was discussed before. So I am hoping and praying that when the time comes for discussion on the development of Concept and the entire East Coast, really, from St. Lucy's back down to St. Philip Lighthouse, that the people of Barbados get to have a say, because much of what's happening at George River, we didn't get to have a say in that. But not just the West Coast and the South Coast beaches are ours. The East Coast beaches are ours too, right? So we need to consider all of Barbados, which involves the East Coast, because I told you guys what happens in Jamaica. Jamaicans have to pay tolls to drive on their own roads. So when one day you wake up and realize that you cannot drive on the East Coast, that you have to pay tolls to enter to drive on the eastern side of Barbados, then you will say, but nobody didn't tell me anything.
I don't agree, Kimar. They ain't got no tools. They ain't let it drive up there. They can cut it off from me. They don't want they want to shut us inland. And that's as I'm seeing it. That look at Concept Bear. Mind you, I did not even know that not Concept Bear, George River. As a young man, my early days and stuff, I would get in the car and I would drive little companion. I didn't even know I was in George River. I recognize this spot now that is George River because I've been there several times to show off the sea and put people in the mood, that kind of thing. But they want to take that away from us now. And they can take their Concept Bear if we let them. And we must not let them. We can't let them. You see, Rose asked in her presentation, about the bulk pistol. You know who wielding the bulk pistol now? The government.
The
They're
master
beating
slave.
us. Yeah. They are the drivers. Because when people hear about drivers and for the slave drivers, they think if I should drive a tractor. They're not tractors. These are beat your bad and drive it to work. And there are the drivers. These are the black drivers that can whip us into submission, whip us inland, take away our rights, and give them to Australians and all kinds of people about this place. And there's one thing I want to say. The courts in Barbados have been allowing a lot of people to be disadvantaged. We saw people who were on land in Barbados, they were on it for 40 years, don't pay rent. And the court took them off and let the Chinese get the spot. Remember? These were poor people who did not have access to good lawyers or any lawyers at all. But the courts should know. And don't tell me that the point was not argued before the judge, so he didn't rule on that point. The judge must know the law too. Because let me tell you, the 8% pay cut case, the point that Sir Dennis ruled on, neither side argued on it. So don't tell me that the point wasn't argued in court. The courts must, a judge in Barbados must be familiar with the Limitations and Prescription Act. So when you have some person on the line for more than 10 years, he has acquired certain rights. But the courts have been taking people off. I saw a fellow who was a soldier with me, he's a Rasta and stuff, and I saw him being evicted from land somewhere on Black Rock. But he's poor. I don't think he had lawyers. And he said, Master, I take him off. He was on that land after his grandmother died. His mother said, well, look, the grandmother was on the land for years. Then he went on there without acknowledging the owner, but not without getting permission from anybody. He was on that land. And he'd been there for more than 10 years, and they put him off. A court did that contrary to what the law says in Barbados, but the court might argue, as I said, they will argue that, that point was not argued before them. You don't have to argue the point before a judge when he should have known it. He should have said, well, I want his arguments on this. But no, the courts keeping us down to, Barra said, keep on Corey Street, when the courts on Corey Street. He knew what he was talking about,
I want to ask you all a question. We just have 5 minutes left, and I want to honor Marcia's request to make sure we wrap up at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to ask a question, but I'm going to ask you all to keep your response to it brief. Let me make sure I phrase this correctly. With all the planning and development we are hearing for Barbados, at what point in time have the people of Barbados been included or been engaged at the beginning when the concept is being engaged as it relates to the development of these areas? At what point? Or is something sat down and drawn and brought to them to tell them this is what we're doing?
They are required to have these consultations, if you may, come into the communities and let people know what they can develop, especially some place like George River. It was not done.
But I'm not talking casual of going with a plan. I'm talking with going to them to let them know you want to develop, so get the input.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that.
You're right.
You're required to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to got enough friends in high places. You don't go follow the law in Barbados. That's the way we are now. You will see when they're gonna have developments, the people have town hall meetings and bring the residents in the area to explain things to them. When was that done for George River? You see my point, because that person might have a special privilege. And
you remember
Barbados,
these... Go ahead.
I said privilege in Barbados. I remember Sandra saying, that they should have pedigree. So if you haven't got pedigree, you ain't got the chance in this place. You are a serf.
I remember something happening too up in St. Lawrence. You remember when they were talking about St. Lawrence? We were talking about all this development on Bay Street. When were Bajans engaged? Because I'll tell you, one of the things I despise is you can come to me with a plan already completed to tell me what you're going to do to get my agreement. No, I don't work so. If you're going to be engaged in a plan from where Rose said from the abandoned police station now there in Hastings all the way down to the port, You should have been engaging us before you set down anything. And we want to know, okay, this is what we think. And if we're going to do it, who is going to be involved, et cetera, et cetera. That is where I am thinking of. But we are nobody. The people in Barbados in the body. The foolish, the stupid, the ignorant, they don't know nothing. So they're the educated ones, and you don't need to talk to the people. Well, the people will talk the next general election, even if they have to vote independent candidates. And I told you all already, there's no Barbados Labour Party and Democratic Labour Party registered in Barbados. All 30 members of parliament are independent individuals that gather underneath of a banner, but they're not registered. And I challenge anybody to tell me that I am wrong. When you sit in parliament, you don't vote for things as the Labour Party. You vote for things as the representative of the constituency. 30 independent individuals. And I said to you all already, I watch it happen in Cayman when people said it could not happen because we have had this history. It happened in Cayman, 19 seats. 13, I think it was, went to independent candidates and 6 to members of parties. Don't tell me it can't happen in Barbados. Barbadians just got to get off their butts and find somebody of value, from what the video said, somebody who has meritocracy in their constituency, who can best do what is in the interest of the country, and vote for them. Anyhow, it is 9. What my clock telling me is 9:59, 56, 57. Let me give you all your final closing comments. Rose, I'm going to start with you because you're the lady present, and I still believe that ladies go first. All right, so if you can give your closing comment, just a 1 minute. I'll give you a 1 minute. If you go past a minute, I'm going to turn off your mic.
Thank you very much.
Just a minute, my dear.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. It's been a great evening listening to my fellow panelists, my colleagues, and thanks for the opportunity. And let's keep being vigilant, and let's just not react, but just be on the cutting edge and keep the government on its tippy toes and listen to the rhetoric and the rebuttals that sound so empty and lame when they try to say that what we are seeing or what others like Kemar and ourselves put forward, they want to be dismissive, they want to trivialize. So let's keep on the cutting edge, let's keep focused, let's keep aware and informed, and work towards together in the interests of our nation, Barbados. Thank you. Good night, all.
Thank you so much, Rose. It's been such a pleasure having you walk down through history with us. I tell you, that was just remarkable. Belleville. I have heard so much about Belleville, but thank you for taking it down and paralleling it to what is happening at Joes River. Thank you so very much. Kemar, I know you were the last on, but I'm going to give you, and then we always leave the general till last because he's the general. So, your closing remarks, Kemar?
Yes. My closing remark would be, I really think that we need to take check as people, and I think the government really needs to be hauled in, because I think that they have gone rogue to the point that their conscience and the love that they're supposed to have for Barbados and Barbadians, it is no longer there. I think that love has been replaced with a thirst and a lust for money, a thirst and a lust for power. And I think that they have lost their way with the people completely. And I just want to send a call out to the people to start to put things in place for a transition over from the Barbados Labour Party over to a government of the people. However, that people choose to structure themselves. Because if we don't structure ourselves as a future government, the people who sit and who observe will not have that confidence in us to continuously push and represent them at the levels that they want, because they trust us and they see us as the freedom fighters, the people who are fighting to save Barbados. And it is my belief, again, that if the people, meaning us and whoever wants to participate in government and governance in the future, we need to start to structure ourselves in a way to be able to take government and transition it from the current people over to the real people who have the best interests of the people at heart and not the ones who pretend to care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kimar. Thank you for alerting us and to these matters and these issues. And I want to encourage you to continue to do your research and continue to do your private eye investigation. You know, I respect very highly as a young man what you're doing, and rather than talking foolishness, people should be commending you as a young man. You don't always have to agree with a person, but you should be able to commend them for the work that they're doing. And I want to commend you for the job that you're doing in bringing these things to our attention. And when I say our attention, I'm speaking concerning the people of this country and not a political party. The people of this country. And even if the people in St. John are asking for Kimar, I can tell you all that when Kimar comes on here, he does not come on here representing a single party. He comes on here representing the people of Barbados and those persons that he has a heartfelt concern for. And I appreciate that at your young age, sir, for you feeling to be in that fray to defend the rights of people. So thank you so very much for drawing these things to our attention and being here with us tonight. Kimar, Caswell, General, your closing remarks.
Well, good. I just want to tell everybody have a good night and beseech them to stand up for themselves. You know, I keep telling people whenever I address a group of my union workers, I tell them, look, the government cannot victimize all of you. If you stand up together, if you stand up by yourself, they can pick you out, but they can't pick off all. Remember when customs people were, they were going to take them, put them into bra. The customs officers stood up en masse. They may get into bra yet. You know why? Because they were you can't force the people to do what you want if they stand up against you. But they know that our people are afraid of them, and you'll be surprised the kind of things that I hear on a daily basis. That is one of the reasons why I make it my business. Rather than try to make money off of you, I tell you what the rules are, what the laws are, so you don't go and engage anybody, me or anybody for that matter, because you have to know what you're getting into. When you get into the public service, nobody trains you anymore. You know, I remember when you first joined the public service back in the days when I was a young man, they brought you in, they took you to the classroom, they trained you, they tell you what was expected of you. I had 2 weeks of that when I first joined the public service. They don't do it anymore. They just take you and put you alongside somebody and hope for the best. And you don't know that there are rules. Sometimes people don't. The only time you know that you're broken the rule is when you broke it because you didn't even know that you were breaking a rule. And that's about to your attention because they don't educate you enough. So I'm telling you, get to educate yourselves. Most of the legislation and most things you need to know are online. If you can't find them online, I have most of them soft copies. I send them to you. I want you to read for yourselves because people are very taken back and surprised by some of the things I tell them because they didn't know they exist. You have rights, but the rights are no good to you if you don't know what they are. So people,
Absolutely.
please stand up. Stand up.
Thank you so much, Caswell. Dave, I'm just going to ask you to run those flyers back again before we leave. Want to remind you all of the upcoming Health and Wellness Festival scheduled for May the 24th and the 25th at the King George V Memorial Park. It's going to be a tremendous time of special activities. I believe there is a essay contest that you can get the information at Barbados. You can email at bdoswellnessfest@gmail.com. I think it's up there on the screen for you to see. The deadline for the entries for the essay is May the 11th. That's a Saturday. And the winners will be announced at the Health and Wellness Festival Saturday, May the 25th at King George V Memorial Park in St. Philip. You see the GoFundMe information there and the aspect of the Seaside chats and email addresses, Facebook and Instagram. If you could just bring it in a little smaller, Dave, that they can see the Instagram address as well. And also, we want to remember this tomorrow, the Speak Life show. That's why Marcia has not been on for the last several nights. She has been in charge of rehearsals for the Speak Life show that begins tomorrow evening at the Combermere School Hall. And I want to extend a personal invitation to all of you, even those of you in Alberta in the UK and other parts of the world, to fly in for the weekend if you can. Saturday, April the 13th and Sunday, April the 14th. That's this coming weekend at 6:30 each evening at the Combermere School. And if it will make any difference, my granddaughter is involved in it. She's one of the main actors, and you're going to want to see her. I had to throw that one in. I had to throw that one in for her.
I find no fault with you in that. Spoken like a proud grandfather.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So we want to thank all of you. Thank you, Rose, again. Thank you, Kimar. I wish we had more time, but I do try to keep to the schedule that Marcia has asked. I look forward to being with you guys again on Sunday, as I will probably be wrapping up my time of hosting, although you never know when it comes to Marcia what's going to happen where some of these things are concerned. But I want to say what a joy it has been and what an honor it has been for me to host the show after the last several nights. And it always is an honor, always a pleasure to have any of you, Rose, Maxine, Glenn, Caswell, Kimar. It's such an honor to be in a group of such fine people, honest people who are just simply trying to love their country. And so we want to thank all of you from the loyal opposition as well for having been with us tonight. We appreciate you taking 3 hours. Wow. And we went up in 1,100 people tonight who came in for 3 hours. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight. God bless you, and we wish you a great, great weekend. Remember the show tomorrow evening, 6:30, Combermere School, and Sunday evening, 6:30, Combermere School. Until Sunday night.
English. Pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. Pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Lovely. I love it.
Lovely. Okay, good night, guys. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night.